If you root for one of the top programs in the country, you only get a few of these a year. So not only do we wait forever to get to the college football season itself, but we've got about 3 or 4 special games typically per team, and this is certainly one of them. This qualifies in spades. Ohio State, Notre Dame get together in South Bend for the first time since 1996, everyone. The Buckeyes and the Irish, of course, got together in Columbus last year. Hard-fought 21-10 Buckeyes win as Ohio State put it away with a couple drives in the second half. We invite your calls. I will be leaving the StreamYard link in the chat. You can give us a ring. We got Sean Moriarty here from the Two Irish Brothers. We appreciate Sean helping to host our post-game show for Notre Dame football here at the Voice of College Football over on the Notre Dame channel. And of course, Sean will be working that along with Ben after Notre Dame and Ohio State again on the Notre Dame channel right after the game. Sean, we appreciate you being here. How's it going?
It's great to be here, and I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Mark?
I am doing great. And we have taken the approach this week to cover this game and a few others. Oregon, Colorado is a big one, and Clemson, Florida State come to mind as well. But, you know, they certainly don't have the historic cachet of this one for sure. But trying to hit these big marquee matchups in week 4 as hard and fast as we possibly can. So we have coverage all over the place, folks. So check out the videos that we posted on the Ohio State and Notre Dame channels and right here on the main channel as well. So we're going to talk Ohio State, Notre Dame. And again, we will leave the link in the chat. Give us a ring on this game and others. Sean, I will let you take it away in regards to when you look at this matchup, there are going to be so many pivotal points and one-on-one matchups and positional units and high-scoring game, low-scoring game. What comes to mind first for you in regards to what you think is going to be decisive in this one?
Well, the first thing I got to say is I can't believe this game is here already. It seems like it's just, months ago we were anticipating it. Now we're just a few days away from it. But no, like you said, Mark, this is definitely a very high-profile game, a huge marquee matchup. But what makes it rare is that this one doesn't come around very often. I mean, like you said, last time we were in South Bend was in 1996. Eddie George tore up that Notre Dame defense that day. But no, I think what really stands out in this matchup is just, well, first off, the fact that this Notre Dame team is a million miles away from what they were last year. We actually have a quarterback to work with. And even last year in Columbus, it was a good game, but it just wasn't the same. I mean, nobody gave us a chance going into that one. We kept it close. Of course, all of us college football fans know that keeping it close doesn't cut it. But I think what is really going to stand out is the fact that this game could very easily make or break one of these two programs. Like whoever goes down defeat in this game, it's like, okay, how do we pick this back up and continue from there? But it's going to be a star-studded matchup. Two of the best teams in college football right now, prime time. It doesn't get any more exciting than that.
All right, we'll take our first call here, and I'm going to drop the link in the description section of the video as well, but it's also right here in the chat, folks. Please consider supporting us a number of ways. You can do that. The Amazon link is in the description section of all the videos, and it's simple. You use the Amazon link, and it's like you used some other Amazon link before. It's exactly the same, and you help us build the channel. Also, keep in mind that it doesn't cost you a penny. So when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide in the description section. All right. We're going to go the Notre Dame route. So that makes sense. We got Will stopping in. Will,
what's up, guys? Man, the game's so close. It's so close. And I'm nervous, so nervous and excited about the game. But I don't know, like I feel like everything's setting up like for the Irish. Like we've had a great week. We've had two good commits and Deuce Knight and Gerby Lambert, two huge commitments. But like I feel like everything's setting up for an Irish win. But the team has to prove it on the field to like win against a against Ohio State, just because I haven't seen it happen. Like 2015, like BVG cost us the game. I felt like, and then I don't know. There's a sketchy call against Tom Zivakowski in the 2005 game. I mean, Notre Dame would have still had to play well at the end to win that game, but it's here. It's so close. I can't wait.
So, how long have you been watching this team, Sean?
Well, I pretty much grew up into a Notre Dame family. And I think I've shared this before. My uncle was the team doctor actually from 1986, I believe, through 2014. So I grew up pretty close to it. But when I actually started following the team closely and like really watching it and getting into it, I would say I was probably about 9 or 10 years old.
And for you, Will?
I mean, I grew up, my dad always had the Notre Dame games on. So, I mean, I remember the Jimmy Clausen days were my first memories because I went to the 2009 Washington game. That was a fun game to rewatch back. That was the first game I went to.
I bring that up because we had a live stream earlier in the week with our buddy John Kennedy and also Nate Urbach. And John Kennedy was letting me know that I've somehow rankled the feathers of some Notre Dame fans out there. I don't know how that is possible. But anyway, because we stick to the facts here. But of course, those facts can be skewed in certain ways. So I certainly acknowledge that. I guess the origin of one of these issues was with all the conference realignment, I certainly like to project how certain schools, certain teams would fare in their new conference or a rumored conference that they might be moving to. And of course, with Notre Dame matching them up against the Big Ten. And I went back and looked at this because we were on with John the other day. He let me know, hey, I get all sorts of comments on my channel about Mark Rogers is saying this, and that about Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not this and they're not that. And so I go back and I looked at two different videos that I posted recently. One in which I stated, okay, this is how Notre Dame has looked since 2000. So I was using the same barometer for Notre Dame as I was with every other team that I was matching up against that particular conference. And I was only going to the year 2000. I wasn't going to go back to 1976 or 1952 because I thought there was relevance, at some point here in the last 20 years. So Notre Dame obviously has not had its best century of football thus far. Especially the first half of those 23 years. The last half been pretty darn good. So that weights it down, the 2002 Brian Kelly's takeover with a lot of 7 and 8 win teams and so forth. Yeah. So the record and the winning percentage, the bowl record, the AP top 25 and top 10 finishes, all that I put together resembled Iowa, came very close to what Iowa's been in the last 23 years. And that's all I stated. This is the fact of the last 23 years. But I put that into context, meaning that I also stated, since Brian Kelly was in charge, this then became a top 10 program. So I also stated that. I stated that if you take last year's team specifically, they went 9-4. What is that? Wisconsin, Iowa. But I also stated that's only one season, project forward, and I would see Notre Dame playing on a level, not that it could not be better than this, but would be playing on a level of a Penn State in joining the Big Ten. And those were my statements about making any kind of comparisons between Notre Dame and the Big Ten. And people didn't necessarily take too well to that for some reason.
Well, myself personally, as much as some things suck, being a Notre Dame fan, what we see on the field doesn't lie sometimes. Yes, ever since Lou Holtz left in 96, we had a good 15-year period of just an absolute mess. And in my opinion, it seemed like, well, there's a number of things, but I think the main thing was not being able to adapt to modern college football. Like when Bob Davie took over for Lou Holtz, he thought he could do the same thing and get away with it. Kind of the same thing with Ty Willingham. He tried to modernize Notre Dame, but he went about it the wrong way. His recruiting wasn't strong. Charlie Weiss, he thought he could come in and basically just teach these kids right away to play at an NFL level. You can't do that. And then finally you get Brian Kelly. And I know a lot of Notre Dame fans hate Brian Kelly right now for obvious reasons. And I get it. I get it. I get it. Absolutely. And it's understandable, but we got to give the guy credit. He turned us around. He found a system that worked, and we started having success. We started having 10-win seasons. We started going to NY6 bowls and national championships. Granted, we didn't get over the hump, but that was a hell of a lot better than where we had been in the previous 3 regimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, just if you're not playing well, then it is what it is. I mean, how can you deny it?
The title of tonight's live stream focuses on Ohio State, Notre Dame, but we also are mentioning that there are mega matchups all over college football. Clemson, Florida State, Colorado, Oregon, Ole Miss, Alabama come to mind, and others. And so we will keep that in mind as we take your comments and questions here at the Voice of College Football. And we've got McD checking in, Maryland fan McD, who's taking on the mighty Spartans of Michigan State. McD, what's going on?
I'm doing good, Mark, and Everett. I don't know the other 2 guys' names, but
we've got Sean and we've got Will.
I'm doing good, Mark, Sean, and Will. I would come on here and say that the biggest game of the week is Michigan State and Maryland, but that's obviously wrong. The biggest game of the week.
I'm not going to debate you on that point. I think that's certainly in the running. Yes.
The biggest game of the week is obviously Notre Dame and Ohio State. I'll just come out and say it. I have Notre Dame winning the game. And Mark, you might want to cover your ears when saying this when I say this, but the reason why Notre Dame's going to win the game.
Here we go.
The reason why Notre Dame's going to win the game is because Ohio State has proven nothing to me so far this year when it has come to physical play. Yeah, they ran Western Kentucky off the field. Western Kentucky is a similar play. Western Kentucky likes opening up the field and basically scoring points and being in shootouts. Notre Dame, is a very physical team. I think Notre Dame wins the line of scrimmage, and Notre Dame gets the win.
Okay. Well, McD, my fears and concerns are certainly put to ease by the many times you've called in with incorrect predictions before. But no, you've also come in with a lot of correct predictions, to be fair. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great week of college football. You have 6 top 25 matchups, 3 alone in the Pac-12. Which I think is amazing considering that the Pac-12 is going to be the Pac-2 or whatever it's going to be next year. Should be a great week of college football. A few big upsets for the week. I do think Ole Miss beats Alabama. I think Ole Miss is severely underrated. So, and I actually think Ole Miss is the better team. I also believe another at least with the point spread, there's no way Penn State's going to cover that 14.5 points against Iowa, in my opinion. Iowa's defense is just too good. It will be a low-scoring affair. So those are the 2 I see betting-wise that I would take. And obviously Notre Dame, the plus money. And then another one, since we love college football, has the Colorado emblem. I would take Oregon minus 21. I would take Oregon minus 28. I would take Oregon probably minus 35 if I had the opportunity to. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Colorado got exposed last week against Colorado State. I stayed up for most of that game. I'll admit I did not watch the overtime, but I saw enough to see Colorado looked like the Colorado I thought they were going to be this year against Colorado State. The TCU win was nice. I did not expect that. I thought they would beat Nebraska, even with the Colorado I expected, because Nebraska, let's be real, as a Terps fan, did that game make me nervous at the beginning of the season? Yes, it doesn't make me nervous now, that game at all, for what I have seen from Nebraska this year. But Colorado is where I thought they would be in that Colorado State game. Dogfight game, find a way to win it. They're going to get ran out the building by Oregon, who will make the college football playoffs this year.
All right. We're full of predictions tonight.
Absolutely. And Mark, I just want to apologize to you. I did watch the Maryland Virginia game. I know you did a live stream on it. I fell asleep right afterwards. It's been a crazy week for me, 2 weeks. A lot of things popped up, so I did want to hop in and rave about how the Terps and actually ripped the Terps to shreds, honestly. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're apologizing on record here, McD, because I cussed you out. I fumed and I, pounded the table. I did all sorts of stuff to show my anger against you not showing up for the post game of the Maryland Virginia game.
I appreciate it.
Do you have anything else for us, McD?
No, I just wanted to I can't wait for this week of college football. As I said, I think the big game is obviously Ohio State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame get the victory. I think the Terps beat Michigan State, and what's ever going on there, I don't even know what to think of Michigan State with the whole situation. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I just want to come in, check in, give my prediction for the game, give it the shout out to the Terps, who it's probably going to be 5-0 going into the Ohio State game. So that should be a fun one in a few weeks. So stay safe in my car, Mark.
And Ohio State's going to be a lowly 4-1 at that point. So Maryland will be a decided favorite.
No.
Okay.
No. You know that. You know how Vegas is. I mean, Vegas is making Alabama a 7-point favorite. Bama should not be a 7-point favorite against Ole Miss, from what I've seen so far this year. So.
All right, McD. We appreciate you being here.
Go Terps.
All right, McD checking in. And the only thing I've got to say about Michigan State, and McD was kind of speechless when it comes to Michigan State, is everybody out there that's not a Michigan State fan, just be happy that you're not a Michigan State fan. Would be about that. Before we take this next call, I'll throw something else out to each one of you. And that's we'll start at the quarterback position for this one. I think we've run through this a number of different ways, but I want to hear from both of you. You can look at it this way. Sam Hartman's got 50 games of starting experience in college football. Kyle McCord has 3, and this is the first time he's going to see this level of defense, hostile environment. Sam Hartman has seen this level of Ohio State defense in the form of Clemson for sure, and a few other spots during his career. So you got to think that there's at least the advantage of the known versus the unknown.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let me just say this. Yeah, Sam Hartman has the experience under his belt. He wins that battle right there. But still, though, Kyle McCord, even with only 3 starts under his belt, I mean, he's got a pretty good surrounding cast around him. So I still wouldn't sleep on him. I mean, that kid only has room to grow.
Yeah, but what makes me happy with Sam is that he's also played phenomenally. Like, I can't ask for him to play much better. I mean, he has 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, which makes me just so comfortable that he definitely won't lose Notre Dame in the game, and there's a very high probability that if the Irish win the game, he will be the reason for the victory.
My philosophy in regards to how these quarterbacks are going to perform both go in Sam Hartman's direction. And again, we're dealing with, or at least I am dealing with, probabilities. We don't know. With Kyle McCord could be a wonder child that shows up and throws for 450 and 5 touchdowns. And that's what he was recruited to do. And he could pull that off in his first start. Others have done it. But the odds say that if anybody's going to get unnerved, it's going to be him and not Sam Hartman. And maybe not even unnerved by the physical pass rush, but that physical pass rush is going to get in his head even when he's got a clean pocket. If he's been dumped on his rear end 3 or 4 straight dropbacks, and then the next one he's got a clean pocket or has enough time, but he's already starting to think, man, I got to get rid of this ball, this rush end on my backside. He keeps coming at me. He's going to be a little tenuous. Whereas Sam Hartman's seen it all before, and I stated this the other day that if we have a situation where it's a high-flying, high-scoring game, then maybe Kyle McCord by the fourth quarter is feeling good, even if they're down by 4 points with 2 minutes left. Like, I'm having a great day. We've been successful. We keep scoring. They keep scoring, but we keep scoring. I'm good. But if it's a 14-10 game and Kyle McCord's got to go win it in the last 2 minutes, and his defense is the reason they're in the game, and he hasn't done anything the entire game, then it's most likely, again, we're dealing with probabilities. He could be completely dismisses of that and be above that and just be able to be focused on the final drive and get it done. But it's human nature that I haven't done anything the entire game. I'm 11 for 25 for 130 yards. I don't have much confidence to get this done now.
Well, that would definitely be the case of in that particular situation, the odds would be against him for sure, because that stuff can play with your head. I mean, I'm not trying to talk like I have quarterback experience, unless the playground counts and it's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. but no, that would be very tough for him. I mean, to have that mentality of, okay, my defense has kept me in it, I haven't done anything, what am I going to do here? So yeah, that's where the pressure really comes into play, and that's where you see how you kind of see what guys are made of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the defensive line has to get home in this game. I mean, Ohio State fans aren't happy with their offensive line, but the defensive line hasn't necessarily looked elite so far. I mean, it hasn't been terrible. So they just have to they can't give McCord more than like 7 seconds, I would say. I mean, the secondary is a strength of the Irish, but still, like, with how good these Ohio State receivers are, he just can't get that much time because, I mean, he's a Ryan Day quarterback. He's going to be definitely good enough to take advantage of that.
Folks, the Amazon link's in the description section of all the videos. When you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. Let's take our next call. We've got Michael on the line.
What's up, Michael?
More Big Ten flavor tonight here.
Hey, not much. Can I vent for a few minutes before I get to my point, please?
Can you do what?
Can I vent for a few minutes?
Vent away.
Was that Darrell Hazel coaching Purdue Saturday night?
I don't believe they employed him temporarily for the game.
Because I was so furious. I literally wanted to throw my laptop against the wall.
Please don't do that. I've done stupid things like that in the past. But
Kevin Costner told me not to do that. But anyway, I have never seen Purdue play so bad. That reminded me of the Hazel era Saturday night. And yet they were still in the game until late in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Oh, my God. I want this 20-year streak to come to an end, but I don't see that happening Friday night. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just concerned. What is it with Purdue and short yardage this year? Situations. It seems like they can't get to like a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, or 4th and 1. They can't get it for some reason.
They obviously do not have the hosses up front to get it done. Are they giving Maccabee the ball in most of those situations?
Yeah, and he's been getting stuffed which is kind of weird. But I wonder with Gus Hardwick still on and stuff maybe have to do with it and stuff. But anyway, are you watching the game Friday night, Mark?
I will be watching. Yes, the Mighty Badgers and the Boilers. Boiler up. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'm watching that game.
All right, but
we'll be here after the game, Michael.
Yeah, I'll actually be at work, so I'll be kind of doing that. But I will be on during my break and stuff like that.
Okay, I thought we could celebrate with you.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, what's Bryson Allen been doing so far with Wisconsin this year? Or has it been 50-50, or has it been mostly they've been airing it out for Wisconsin?
airing it out. They're throwing
Yeah.
more than they have thrown it, just like they promised, but they weren't going to become some air raid attack overnight. They were certainly going to, they're smarter than that. They know what personnel they have, and they know that they've got two of the best running backs in the Big Ten. So they're going to transition into that. So Tanner Mordecai has been pretty underwhelming, but they have been throwing the ball 30 or 35 times. So more than they typically do.
Yeah.
But again, they were playing from behind against Washington State. And to their defense, for as lackluster as they've looked, they were down by a touchdown to Georgia Southern. They were in a struggle with Buffalo. And of course, they lost the Washington State game. If they don't turn the ball over against Washington State, and that's a big if, they did and lost the game, they're probably in good shape in that game. They had a strip sack down near the goal line. That was a touchdown for Washington State. They had another strip sack at midfield when they were moving the ball. And then when they were down 2 with about 5 minutes left, Ches Malusi fumbled the ball, getting close to the red zone. So they need to hang on to the ball.
Yeah, I will say this last thing about the Purdue-Wisconsin game. Get ready to be impressed by Deion Burks. He's kind of – I think he's actually faster than Rondell Moore was. And he's a lot – also a good receiver. He went back to the Notre Dame game and stuff like that. What's the one thing I should look for with Notre Dame on Saturday night? Should I be among the masses up in South Bend? I haven't seen Notre Dame play this year.
Audric Estime's turned into he was just a tank last year, but now he's a tank with breakaway speed. So I feel like he's really gonna make a difference in the game.
Okay, is he like a running or receiver?
Running back.
Mm-hmm. All right. I know about Harmon and stuff like that, but I just didn't know who to watch for and stuff like that. But what do you think is gonna be the deal with the defense for Notre Dame? Because I heard you say something about you can't give him a quarter 7 seconds to throw.
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah, the D-line just has to get home for the Irish to have success. But I'm very confident in the linebackers and secondary that they'll be able to make plays when they need to.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's going to be a 38-21 for Notre Dame.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, wow.
I would enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, but one other thing I can get going here in a minute is, would you guys be surprised if Colorado did beat Oregon, and do you think it'll be a high-scoring game?
I would be, because I just don't feel like Colorado has the star power that they did before the injury. But, I'm kind of a Colorado fan, and the reason why is I feel like I like what Deion's doing, because he's taking the pressure off of his players and putting it all on himself. So he's really giving a way for his players to succeed. So that's why I like Colorado, but personally, I just don't think they can do it.
Well, my take on that real quick is Colorado. Even though they've they surprised everyone with the start of the season beating TCU, they're still a raw team. They still have to gel yet. So I get you can't rule it out, because nothing surprises me in college football anymore. But the thing is, with Oregon, they've always been a fast team. They've always been known for their speed, and I think they're going to be too much for Colorado, at least this first time around anyway.
Yeah. I'm picking Oregon to win and stuff like that, but I think it might be like a basketball type score. We shall see, though. So I know you're not going to be at the game Saturday night, but I'm trying to think who the other guy is right there with you, Mark.
I am Sean Moriarty. Most people know me as ND Sean 45 when I am actually known. I do a show with my buddy Ben called The Two Irish Brothers.
Okay.
So that's where I've been for.
So are you going to be among the 80,000 there Saturday night?
No, I will actually be down with my buddy Ben in Southern Illinois watching the game.
Nice. I was just wondering stuff like I figured you knew that. Oh, hey, Will, is this the last time we're going to see you? Because I heard you might be the new manager of the Nationals next year.
I think Dave Martinez is very safe with the job, but I am a fan. I'm a lifelong fan.
Yeah, not bad. Hey, what's your take about the game Saturday night, Mark?
Well, I'm looking for somebody who's willing to give me 17 points in Ohio State, because I hear there are people out there that think Notre Dame might win by 3 scores. I don't know if you know of anyone like that.
I said that. I just think that it's just their offense is going to be able to get it done for Ohio State. And I don't know about the defense. Yeah, they've been doing it, stuff like that. But I'm just wondering when's it gonna crack back to when's Ohio State gonna go back to their traditional defense again? Torch. Last thing, does Ole Miss get it done Saturday night in Oxford or is it in Tuscaloosa?
They're playing in Tuscaloosa, and I've not made predictions on any of these games, so I will let you know that. Actually, when I sized up the Notre Dame Ohio State game in the off season, I threw this curveball out there that nobody's going to be able to add up or figure out, that Notre Dame was going to win this game and Ohio State was going to win the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to stay with that because that was my off-season prediction. But when the game comes up on Saturday, I will figure it out of some sort, and I will either be right or I'll be wrong. How about that?
Sounds good and stuff like that. So are you going to be on around 10:30 or 11 o'clock Friday night?
We'll be on after the Purdue-Wisconsin game, unless the Boilers are just blowing them out by so much that we might as well just come on early.
Yeah. Is there any other good game Friday night?
I know there's
Virginia,
one other game.
NC State.
Oh,
That's not going to be a good game. Well, that could be a blowout.
Well, I want to see Brennan Armstrong. Like my UVA people, I mean, I don't really like UVA, but they all think they're going to boo Brennan Armstrong when he comes on. So I might watch it just for that at the beginning of the game.
I mean, look at it. Maryland spotted them a 14-point lead and did what? Maryland scored the next 55,000 points.
Yeah, they're not a very good team.
All right, I gotta get to work. Unless Mark says I can have the night off from work.
I don't think I have jurisdiction there. I've got a lot of power, but it's kind of confined to this YouTube thing.
All right, hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Catch you later. See ya.
Thank you, Michael.
See you, Michael.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, folks, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. Again, we'll talk about any of the games, but we got Sean here and we got Will here with their Notre Dame colors. While if you saw me, I'm either down here like looking up stats, or I was putting up polls. One is here on the YouTube page and one is on my Twitter page, just flat out winner, Ohio State, Notre Dame. We'll take a poll because Notre Dame seems to be getting some traction here. Mm-hmm. Very nice. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Yeah, it's Nosik, the Ohio State fan.
Awesome. What's going on, sir?
Not much. I want to say that this Ohio State team this year reminds me a lot of that 2008 Texas team with Colt McCoy. Because remember, that Texas team in 2008 wasn't even picked to win their own division or anything. I think they were picked to finish like third or fourth in their division, and they ended up coming this close to knocking off Texas Tech and going to that Big 12 title game. And like this Ohio State team a lot of people had them picked to finish third in the Big 10. And this team has an underrated defense like that Texas team did. This is what that Ohio State team reminds me of that Texas team from 2008.
Okay. Well, that would not be the worst thing in the world. They went 11-1 or 12-1 with a Fiesta Bowl win over
Ohio State. That was Marcus
Freeman's
last game at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay. But of course, they didn't reach what Ohio State fans would be listing as their goals.
I think they would have beaten Florida if you ask me.
Yeah, maybe they would have. We will never know.
Wow.
I really believe Ohio State wins this game this Saturday.
I believe you're an Ohio State fan, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm being unbiased, I think it'll be a great game, but I think Ohio State wins this game.
Okay. This is my own biased opinion, is that you cannot be unbiased. So I don't think any of us can be unbiased. I would love to. This is one question I'm going to put out there for the chat or for anybody calling, or they can put it in the comment section if you don't want to call. I want to hear from at least one Ohio State fan who believes Notre Dame's going to win, and I want to hear from at least one Notre Dame fan who believes Ohio State's going to win. Those are the people I never get to hear from, but I want to hear from those people.
Well, I'm sure you can invite some of your realist friends from Twitter, Sean.
Don't get me started on that. I really don't want to get started. It gives me a headache even just thinking about those types of people. Like the what I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know, the ones in our fan base that, they call themselves realists, when really all that means is they're not true fans. They don't give the team a chance to win. They're always doom and gloom. You'd think they would be fans of other teams, and they really should be. So, but something else I want to add too. Well, something else I'd like to add too. I wonder what the stadium's going to look like on Saturday night, to be honest with you, because Notre Dame has had a problem lately of fans selling their tickets and letting the stadium get taken over. So I have a concern about that.
I honestly hope it's like when you guys played Georgia in 2017, all those Georgia fans.
That was a joke.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of hype around Notre Dame this season with Sam Hartman. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm personally more hopeful than Sean about this. I do think that will be majority Notre Dame fans. And I mean, the away section will be filled with Ohio State, but
I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
Yeah, I just think that with the excitement of Sam Hartman, and there's still excitement about Marcus Freeman being the coach, still relatively new, and a lot of people were excited about him. And then if Sam Hartman didn't come and this was a Tyler Buckner or a Steve Angeli start, I do believe that there would be more Ohio State fans there. But just because of the excitement around the program, I do think
it's funny.
It won't be taken over by Buckeye fans.
It's funny for over a year. I've called for the end of the Alabama's dynasty for over a year now, especially with them getting Buckner and Tommy Rees. It confirmed my suspicion on Alabama.
Yeah, the tide is looking rough. There's no question about that when they're going back to a quarterback who threw two awful interceptions in your biggest game of the year thus far. They're going to have to put a tight leash on Mr. Milroe to basically just be a guy that's going to look at one receiver. If he's not open, tuck the ball and run. Eliminate decision-making for him at this point, at least. That would be my advice.
Yeah, in my opinion, Alabama's just going to have to stick with one and break him in. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, Milroe didn't look great, but he looked better against Texas than Buckner and Simpson looked against South Florida. So I do think that Milroe's the best option, and I do think Alabama definitely loses a couple of games this season. More than I think they'll probably lose 3 or 4 games.
Here's my hot take. I think they go undefeated from here on out and then lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game down in Atlanta.
Okay, you think they're going to get it together? All right, very good.
I mean, even as a Brian Kelly, someone who doesn't like Kelly, I do think that they beat Alabama.
Dave is letting us know about Sean's topic about what the stadium is going to look like. Is Dave has the time-tested comment here that
Dave's
that
the biggest
red,
Notre Dame hater in the chat, man. He does not.
He also
like
hates Ohio State, so he's basically letting us know that that the red makes it look like there's twice as many people there.
No, all I know is I've been seeing his comments, and he's bringing it tonight. That's for sure. But
he's the Michigan fan that hates Notre Dame more than Ohio State.
I see. Because I haven't really seen him around, just except on here a few times. But I don't really know him. The seats, well, that's good. If they have the seats locked down, great, and I hope that's the case.
Oh, sorry, John. Of course, is very offended that I said that. John, of course, every time he sees me in the chat, he's like, "Hey, Will, can't wait. Are you excited for the 8-4 Notre Dame season?" So, of course, John's of course up there too.
All right, Scarlet and Gray. Anything else you got for us?
Yeah, my 4 playoff teams are still alive: Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, and Washington.
Yep, they would still be alive. Got a ways to go. All right, sir. Anything else?
What is your before I leave? What is your pick? Who is your pick for the Clemson Florida State game?
I don't have a pick right now. And,
I think Clemson beats them.
You like Clemson? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am leaning Florida State, but I've not made a pick.
Yeah. Florida State's run defense is bad.
Yes, it was, and they couldn't contain the quarterback, Castellanos, last week.
Mhm.
All right, Mark.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Call back anytime.
No problem.
All right. Let's get to a question that faithful viewer Erica threw out there. So, Erica, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate the contribution. Saw an article regarding Mel Tucker's replacement and how they're apparently considering PJ Fleck. I think that'd be a good choice for Michigan State. Thoughts? Okay, my thought is that unless the finances are overwhelming, I don't know why PJ Fleck would leave Minnesota for Michigan State. I guess it's slightly a better job. I guess you probably have an opportunity to recruit better there. I guess slightly. You're somewhat running into a wall of Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State in regards to recruiting. But then it's also difficult to get players to go to Minneapolis. But again, if we say the money is not overwhelming and the money is somewhat comparable, I just don't know that PJ Fleck would make that move. I know that certainly it's more difficult to win in the Big Ten East, but those divisions are going to be obliterated. And the scheduling going forward, depending on what the approach is, should be very balanced. And so there's not going to be any longer any big benefit or advantage to being in the West or the East going forward. So I think that would be a great move for Michigan State. I'm a PJ Fleck fan. I'm on record for saying that I think he's a really good head coach, and I think he's a top 15 head coach in America, something in that range. So that's a good get for Michigan State. I don't necessarily know that makes sense for PJ Fleck.
I would go PJ, Chris Kleiman from Kansas State, and Jason Candle, who's now at Miami. I would definitely give those guys a ring for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, myself personally, I have my biased opinions against Michigan State, so I'm not really going to comment too much on it. But I will say this: I really don't know if Fleck would be a good fit there. I really don't. I can't say. I think he's better probably staying at Minnesota for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to think that Minnesota being the type job that's a top 30 job in the country, that he's looking for maybe one big season there that's going to vault him into a major job. What could possibly pop open? Texas A&M. He got a big look at Auburn. I don't know if he necessarily had that job for sure, but they certainly were close. So, that job comes to mind in regards to Texas A&M maybe being open in the next 3 years. I'm trying to think of any other big jobs that would be there for the taking.
Nick Saban retiring.
PJ Fleck at Alabama.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That would be very interesting.
All right. All right. Any other angles to this Ohio State Notre Dame matchup that you guys think are intriguing?
I like the matchup against or between Marvin Harrison Jr. and our corner Benjamin Morrison. That's a matchup that sticks out to me, and I think that will be a close one to pay attention because I think that battle alone is going to be one of the big factors that dictates this game. Because Benjamin Morrison, he made an excellent splash in his freshman year last year. 6 picks. His coverage was outstanding. He was what I called the diamond in the rough last year. Because you always because every team always has that 3-star recruit that breaks out and plays like a 5-star, like very quickly. Mm-hmm. And of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., son of the great Marvin Harrison Sr., who had an excellent NFL career. Obviously, he's when you get kids of former NFL players, they always come into college a little bit more polished. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine's going to be the lines of scrimmage. Like, who's going to win at the line? I mean, it's going to be strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. Whoever wins that, I think, wins the game. So definitely the big dogs up front are going to be very important. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful for Ben against Marvin, especially because they're showing a little graphic on Peacock, and Ben had the lowest QBR against. So definitely feeling good about him. But of course, Marvin's an insane athlete. So that makes me a little nervous, but still hopeful that we can contain him.
Keep chopping. May have a good point here that while I was focused in scanning the country about huge jobs where the coach is not successful, Ryan Day may just either break through and win a national championship and then say, I can't do anything else here, but go down from here, see ya, or basically say, I'm tired of having the pressure to win every game, and I'm going to go coach whomever in the NFL. That's a possibility. And then you've got the Ohio State job open. I don't think that's completely far-fetched there. I know Ryan Day, he states this probably every third week at a news conference that he has to win every game, that he's expected to win every game. I know that Urban Meyer, I saw him on a podcast just a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about expectations at different jobs. And he said he was handed a piece of paper by Gene Smith, the athletic director, when he took the Ohio State job. And he said, these are your two goals. One was graduate all your players. Number two was win every game. So I know Ryan Day's, you can just tell there's something there that, and I understand it. I get it. Like, can I please you folks? That he's made the statement. I get it that I'm not going to please everyone until I win every game. So maybe he'll get sick of that. I know he's a top flight coach and will be courted by a number of teams out there if he so chooses.
Well, and the thing is too, with coaches, I think the longest tenured coach right now is, I believe, what's his name at Iowa?
Kirk Ferentz.
Ferentz. I'm pretty sure he's the longest tenured head coach right now in college football. But with him being the lone exception today, I think those days of, Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden at Florida State, I don't think we're going to see a coach at a program for, 30 years anymore, 30 plus years. So, I mean, you got guys jumping so quickly after like 3 or 4 years. That's become the norm. And you make a good point though, with Ryan Day getting all this pressure. If he can go to a place that's a little more chill, who would blame him for taking it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pressure cooker at Ohio State. I mean, if you don't win, like, they're going to want you out, like, even no matter how successful you are. So I feel like he might stay longer if he breaks through and wins a national championship. But if he doesn't, I think he will leave. Oh, this sounds like Kevin Noon. This sounds like Kevin Noon.
Sean, is Notre Dame overrated every year?
No, they're not overrated every year. Just because you get to, even though we haven't gotten over the hump, it still says something when you get there. Because especially with us being an independent, that means we always have a target on our back. So teams are going to play their absolute best for us. So we have a lot to go through when we have had success in getting to the NY6 and the playoffs and all that. But come on, this is something I hear all the time, every year. I'm used to it by now. So whatever. People are entitled to their opinions.
Anytime somebody presents me with the whole, is so-and-so overrated, is somebody underrated, my response is always, by whom? Who are we talking about? Who's doing the rating? Who is this individual? Who is this collection of people? That it's almost like you always hear, they said this and they said that. And who are we talking about? Okay, the only tangible measurement of that I can go to would be the preseason AP poll to see, is Notre Dame routinely overranked in AP preseason poll. And I've looked at this, and the answer is no, they're not. It's very random. Sometimes they're ranked higher than they finish in other years, and it's almost split equal, just like anybody else.
Well, I gotta reply to a quick comment that isn't highlighted yet, but Big Bumbo 22, Notre Dame joined a conference. Why is everybody so obsessed with conference? I think we do just fine in one. I'm so sick of it. We joined the ACC for the COVID year. We showed, even though the ACC is down, we still had no problem in it. I guess it depends. Are you saying we should join a conference as a punishment for not being what we once were, or just because you really want us? That's what I want to know.
All right, Sean, we haven't had enough discussions to cross this bridge before. So here's where I stand on this. Yes. I in no way blame Notre Dame in any such way. And don't take this the wrong way, but this is the best analogy I have, because I'm not a good analogy guy, but this came out of my mouth a few weeks ago when somebody brought it up. When I come across the 5-year-old in a grocery store that's throwing a tantrum, I don't blame the 5-year-old. I blame the parent. So I have no angst against the 5-year-old. It's the parent that can't control their child. So Notre Dame's allowed to do what Notre Dame wants to do, and that's stay independent. Mm-hmm. So nobody has held them accountable, and there's no governing body of college football. There's no commissioner to regulate this and say, now we've gotten to the point. So when I grew up watching college football, and even into the early 90s before the ACC expanded and the Big Ten and other conferences, Louisville, Penn State, Syracuse, West Virginia, South Carolina, we could go on and on. With the Boston College, all the teams that were independents, Miami, Florida State. Yes, people that are under like the age of 30, you probably can't believe that some of those schools were independents as recent as the early 90s. So it wasn't a big deal. It was almost like there were more independents than teams in conferences. But that has obviously changed. And now that we've had BYU join, that was the only program out there that was any semblance close to Notre Dame in regards to playing ability. Not that they are, but somewhat. They've joined a conference. Like, everybody's in a conference. And I know there's like 4 other programs that aren't in conferences, but they're completely inconsequential to competitive football and the landscape of college football. Nobody cares. So it's Notre Dame. They're the only ones. So everybody else is in a conference. I just believe Notre Dame should be in a conference.
Christopher Foote, Notre Dame is independent for football, but yes, ACC for other sports, and Big Ten for hockey. This
is not a hockey show or a lacrosse show or a women's basketball show.
Exactly.
But Notre Dame does have good lacrosse.
Yes, that was really nice this past year. But Mark, you got a point. If the NCAA and whoever else says, okay, you're required to join a conference, I would have no problem with it. And I've said this many times. I don't care if we're conference or independent, just win on the field. That's all that matters to me.
You don't think some of that unique quality of Notre Dame football would be lost in any way?
Yes and no, but it's something that I've never really been very adamant about either way. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If we stay independent, we stay independent. That's the approach I've always taken. It really hasn't meant that much to me, to be honest with you. I'm probably a rare breed, I know.
Yeah, it seems that way. I will tell people that are commenting in the chat, and I know most of you are just commenting to comment and comment back and forth. But if you're looking to state something that we're going to take to the screen, either make it brilliant or idiotic. Those are the ones that usually catch my attention. So we're going the idiotic route right here with Notre Dame is independent. Yes, we understand in 14 other sports, I think it's like 14 out of 15, they're independent. But Christopher, we know that you have frequented our channel for many, many years at this point. So Christopher, you are welcome. We love you. You call in. That's awesome and everything. But why do you state that? You know that's untrue. You're just trying to, and it worked. because I like to post the comments because you are the same individual that claims that UConn is a member of the Big East.
Well, the Big East does still exist, but it's just
Yes.
basketball only.
Yes, we're a football show, so UConn is an independent in football. So my other rant in this is more targeted at the ACC. I cannot imagine the SEC or the Big Ten being treated the way Notre Dame treats the ACC. Do you know where I'm headed here?
I think, but
join our conference in every other sport except for the most important sport that makes all the money.
Okay, yes.
And again, I don't blame Notre Dame for that, but we're going to schedule 5 or 6 games with you because we'll benefit. Our schools will benefit. Duke will have more than the 22,000 people that show up for football games when Notre Dame comes to town. So yes, the ACC is doing it for financial reasons. In a football sense, they want to tie up Notre Dame's schedule and get their lackluster conference some more high-profile games. North Carolina State is not showing up on ABC noon on Saturday most of the time unless they're playing Notre Dame. But to be abused by a school to say, we are going to play every other sport except for football. We are going to also be a full-time voting member of the ACC, which is ludicrous to me. And then the killer point was it was impossible for me to talk about this enough 3 years ago during COVID when I was ranting and raving for the ACC to say, you have Notre Dame exactly. I could use very graphic depictions of this. You have Notre Dame exactly where you want them. They cannot schedule a season. Every other conference is just scheduling conference games. Shut them out or tell them, sign a 20-year contract and you can play football this year in the ACC. But no, they just allow them. And I was rooting for Notre Dame like I've never rooted for Notre Dame in my life to win the ACC, because I was like, I want Notre Dame to join this league for 1 year, abuse it, win the conference championship, and then say, see ya. How? And they almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
We
just ran into a hot Clemson team that year. Well, I mean, I take that back. Yes, we beat Clemson in the regular season, but yes, I know people, I'm just saying it before people bring it up. Yes. Lawrence wasn't in the regular season matchup. Who else wasn't? Will, do you remember?
The D-line. I know they're defensive players. But I don't remember.
Yes. So yeah, we obviously found out that year that Trevor Lawrence was definitely the better quarterback than DJ was. So yeah, but no, we were close, but not there. Just wasn't meant to be.
So the ACC to me is just so weak and pathetic.
Well, and I just got a comment too, real quick. I mean, to everybody bringing it up, and you brought up too, Mark, about the voting that the ACC gives Notre Dame. And this is nothing personal to anybody, but you guys should be mad at the ACC for giving it to them in the first place. I mean, it's like the. I mean, I was a Notre Dame fan. I mean, I'll take it, of course. But it's like the ACC is, the girlfriend or the girl that's trying to be with the stud quarterback in high school, and she's slobbering over him, and he's like, okay, fine, I'll let you date me, but you got to do this, and that. And that's what the ACC is. And that's the best I could come up with on the fly. But it's true, though. I mean, it really is. I mean, they're the ones that gave Notre Dame all these perks. And it's like when Mike Golick went on that rant years ago about the Rick Riley article. You can't blame Notre Dame for taking certain perks when it's offered to them.
Absolutely not. Nope. I do not blame Notre Dame in any such way.
But you're right about the whole scenario, though. It's crazy that the ACC would give them all this from the start. But I guess The only thing I can think of is they want their other sports to be they want that brand for their other sports maybe, but I don't know. Honestly I can't really comment. I don't know what's going through their minds when they offer all that. So
our guy Michigan Man Moose, we he's here for us. Do I really take the time to just completely tear that comment to shreds? I won't. I won't.
Funny.
It's too easy.
It'd be great entertainment. It'd be great, fun to watch and listen to.
Sean, I posted something on Twitter. I got to dig this up because it's just I shouldn't be giddy and let it amuse me as such. But that doesn't happen very often. But I basically summed up the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry this way: if you are 3 years and younger, and you're a Michigan fan, brag all you want. You have every reason to brag if you are 3 years old or younger. And I know that that's a large portion of our audience, as is the 100-year-old and older. So if you're 100 years old and you're a Michigan fan, you also have bragging rights in this rivalry. However, if you are, and this is only one category, so Michigan owns 2 of the 3 categories. So I give Michigan a ton of credit for owning 2 of these 3 categories in their rivalry against Ohio State, the 3-year-old and under and the 100-year-old and over. But if you are 3 years old to 100 years old, that age category, Ohio State owns that age category. People didn't take on the Michigan side too kindly to that.
No, probably not.
But it's the truth. So.
Well, it's like I said, the truth hurts sometimes, even when it's with Notre Dame. I mean, whether off the field, on the field, facts are facts.
Oh man, David is hitting up here. Is Notre Dame average at the other sports too?
Well, lacrosse, we just won the national championship. Hockey,
fencing as well.
Fencing has been very well, winning a couple national championships actually. Basketball teams have struggled the past couple of years, but Notre Dame men's did make it back the year before. Baseball's been pretty damn good. Soccer, I think, is doing pretty well, both men and women's sports. But yeah, I gotta admit, I don't watch every single one of our sports, so.
Okay, Ralph, your comment makes absolutely no sense. So Michigan does not lead Ohio State 53-33. The all-time record is 60-51. And Ohio State lost the first 12 times they ever played. So Ohio State was, you understand, if you're Michigan, you were playing football way before Ohio State. So you automatically were up in Big Ten titles. You won the first 12 meetings on the field. So you gained this huge advantage. So it is not 53-33. Oh, you pick the year, and Ohio State has the series lead since that year, going back nearly 100 years. And I'm not just talking about the series. I'm talking about who has more first-round NFL draft picks, who has more NFL players, who's won more bowl games, who's won more national championships, who's finished in the top 10, the top 5, all those things over the last, I don't know. You want to take 20 years, you want to take 50 years, you'll take 70 years. I'll take any of those categories. Again, if you're under 100, then those are the facts. Yeah, I don't know where he came up with that number. That's not correct.
Yeah. Well, just like this Dave Snothery here, when he says that we taught Notre Dame how to play football. Well, that's true. That Michigan, that's true. Michigan did teach Notre Dame how to play, but what the bigger joke is, they actually claim scrimmages as victories. I mean, literally, those games back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, those were scrimmages. And Michigan counts those on their overall record.
Okay. Ralph eliminated 20 years. Okay. Gotcha. He eliminated a 17-3 run. Yes, Michigan and Notre Dame obviously last were on the field together in 2019?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no talk of that rivalry being renewed.
I think it's in the 2030s. It's starting. They have a schedule, right?
I believe so. I'd have to look it up, but I'm not sure. I don't know for sure, but I think, Will, I think you might be right. It might be, I think like another 10 years from now or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was right. That was a typhoon that night. It was a pretty bad rainstorm in 2019. I do remember that. Okay. The Scarlet says 2033.
Yeah.
So I knew it was somewhere in there, but yeah, they have been talking about trying to renew that. I wish it'd be a little sooner though, but whatever. Can't complain too much. But I guess when you talk about average, just taking a different direction here. If you want to talk about average, I guess it depends how you define average. If you're talking about number of national titles, then okay, I guess so. But still, though, even if you don't win a national title, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad team.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to jump on that term average. Now, come on, average.
Well, 100.
Notre Dame is a top 10 program.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, 100 and what is it at the FBS level? Like 130 teams or so, something.
Yeah, 133 now.
133 of all those teams, only one can win the national championship. So if you have a team, all the other 132, like including the loser of the title game or the ones that just play in the NY6 of the other bowls, are they average just because they don't win national championships?
No,
it's ridiculous. But there was another comment that someone made earlier that I wanted to address. Somebody said the Notre Dame won one for the Gipper and they've been average since, or no good since. Okay, well, that alone in itself is stupid, because if you want to go back to the Gipper, which is in the 20s, then we've won in that time frame like 9 national championships, because I think Notre Dame already had a couple before then. So if that's how you want to go off the math and the years, then, well.
Yeah, you're forgetting about the Leahy years, era.
The one with that we won
and Lou. Yeah.
Yeah.
To get back to Saturday's game and getting all past these historical metrics and so forth, and not that we can't get back to it because I can live in those kind of arguments, but getting back to Saturday's game, I'll simply ask you to somehow verbalize how important is this game? Like, how great will you feel if Notre Dame wins? How disappointed will you be if they lose?
I mean, I feel like this game can launch Notre Dame into being – this will be a huge step into getting to that Ohio State level, because just for recruiting, this would be a huge win, because you can say that, especially if Ohio State goes on and wins the Big Ten, you can say that, hey, we're the kings of the Midwest. And it'll just be so huge for recruiting, and also huge for the fact that everyone says Notre Dame can't win the big game. And if Notre Dame wins this, like, I can finally brag to everyone saying, like, Notre Dame can win the big game and can compete with the other top 4 programs in the country.
I would say I'm going to be very happy if we win this game, because, you know, as we're hearing in the comment section, Notre Dame can't win the big one. But you know what? People are going to say that even if we do win on Saturday night, they're still going to say, oh, they're going to find some excuse as to why it wasn't against a big opponent, that they're going to start making excuses for Ohio State and so on and so forth.
They will.
But
this is going to be a really bad Ohio State team if they lose to Notre Dame. You guys are going to hear that this is the worst Ohio State team in however many years, and that's why Notre Dame won. So you guys are going to have to hope that Ohio State, like Will said, goes and wins the Big Ten and doesn't lose another game. And then if you've got that win on your, people are going to think that Ohio State's headed toward 9-3, 8-4 if they lose this game. And so, yeah, you beat Ohio State, but this wasn't a good Ohio State team.
That's exactly what they're going to say. And I've heard that before. I mean, going back to 2020, we beat number 1 Clemson, but of course, since Lawrence wasn't playing and all those other guys, it's a tainted number 1 victory and it wasn't good enough. And it'd be the same thing if it happens. If we win on Saturday and that happens, then that's what you're going to hear. But no, this game on Saturday means a lot because it's another opportunity for us to prove everybody wrong. But of course, as I just said, people are going to still say the same crap no matter what happens. But I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. And yeah, I'll probably dance a jig on camera.
Nice. We'll clip that and post it on everywhere.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Hey, if it brings traffic, then so be it. I will dance a jig, no problem.
Beautiful. Well, John is a big fan, certainly. Notre Dame could beat Ohio State 200-0, and I would still hate Notre Dame more than any other college football team.
You can still hate John, but you better respect.
Yeah. Is it that wrong that you can't respect a team that you hate for when they do something good?
I mean, I know John won't give Notre Dame any respect. I've known John on the internet for about 3 years, and we have the doctor. The doctor is
time to balance this out, I guess.
Wow. Yes, I'm surrounded. Well, it could be worse. I could be surrounded by Team Up North fans. So, that always can be worse. I don't know if Notre Dame. How long have you
been around, David, in the chat tonight? How long have you been in the chat tonight?
I just got here, Mark. I was got done with my cardio routine, so I decided to make it in afterwards.
All right. I had to set a lot of Michigan fans straight here in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, it's good. I know you don't want to upset your largest fan base, Mark. I mean, obviously there's a crowd there that you have to cater to. But I'm just hoping that JJ McCarthy for Heisman hype dies down like right quick after that Bowling Green performance, by the way. One would think it might. I saw your appearance on Mr. Dace's show. It seems like the bloom was off the rose there a little bit with him on that, right?
Yeah, he was a little bit worried, little concerned after the Bowling Green effort. Yes.
With that schedule, he's worried, by the way. At least Ohio State's playing a real team in non-conference. Let's give some credit here,
Yeah, Ohio State's schedule is, I don't want to say significantly tougher, but also a tougher West Division draw than Michigan. Yeah.
You know what? And let's hear it from Midwestern football this year, Mark. I was the one that broached the subject about the Big Ten possibly being ahead of the SEC this year. And I want to say, I know it's early, Mark, and, it would certainly help the Big Ten's cause this weekend if Ohio State was to get a big win. And I would consider this obviously a very quality win. I want to stipulate that. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Mark.
Well, my thought is that the Big Ten has been elevated by the SEC's demise. It's not that the Big Ten has done anything worth anything this year. The Big Ten has been marginal, to be kind. It's been that the SEC has plummeted.
Right. Yeah, this isn't your older brother's SEC
Big Ten
right
elevating.
Now.
No, it's not. They've lost every important game that they, Missouri defeating Kansas State on a 61-yard field goal. That is the crown jewel of the SEC's performance.
That was hilarious, seeing SEC fans celebrate that as their Big victory of last weekend. I thought that should just be, when Missouri is carrying the flag for the SEC, is that quite an indictment? Although DeReal will probably make the case that that's a huge win somehow. He'll try to spin that some way, I'm sure. All right, I do want to get into it, Mark, and talk about the game this week, especially since we have two Notre Dame fans here. Last year, obviously, I was a lot more confident going into this game. I don't want to say I think this is a 50-50 game. I still think I think it's maybe a 55-45 game in my view. I think that the interesting thing for me going into this game with Ohio State is two things from an offensive perspective. Number one, the play of the offensive line, which was my biggest concern with this coming into the season. And the other interesting thing, and it's been talked about a lot this week, is Ryan Day's game plan, what it looks like for Kyle McCord this weekend, and just how aggressive is he throwing the football around with McCord now. I mean, there's this feeling out there amongst Ohio State fans. You guys talked about it a little bit on Buckeye Talk today. Is, do you see the Ryan Day that he was against Georgia, being aggressive, throwing the ball down the field? Now, that was a different quarterback and that was a different offensive line. I get it, but one would think in this game he might be inclined to be a little bit more aggressive. And I'm just curious to think what you guys think and what maybe some of your thoughts are on that.
Well, on one hand, like if he's more aggressive, like Notre Dame's DBs are very good. So I feel like if he makes a mistake, like he could pay for sure in this one. So I feel like especially if he gets more behind, I feel like that can be where Notre Dame can possibly pull ahead, is if he does make a couple of mistakes in the turnover battle. So, I mean, that excites me a bit, but also if like McCord plays well and wins the game for Ohio State, that would be unfortunate.
Well, the thing is,
of course,
Yes.
Well, and I think the big thing too is, as we've talked about nonstop, the trenches. But one thing that I would like to see for Notre Dame to really be able to do to Ohio State is get the pressure on without having to blitz every time. Yeah, because that's something that I've noticed through the first four games is, especially last week against Central Michigan, we were getting the pressure, but we weren't finishing. We weren't finishing the plays. We weren't wrapping up. We weren't tackling like it's basic fundamentals. So, a team like Central Michigan, you can get away with that. But a team like Ohio State, of course, no, you're not getting away with that. So that's where the mistakes have to be cleaned up. But yeah, it's getting pressure without having to send, without having to blitz every time and so on. So, I mean, yeah.
I just want to say, I think that's the key for both teams. I think that the interesting thing will be, now I was going to ask from a Notre Dame perspective, how would you compare your defensive line this year to last year? I know you have the Ohio State transfer, John Baptiste, but I thought Foskey was a really good player last year. Do you guys feel you have, I know Ohio State's kind of been searching for their alpha as far as the pass rush goes. I know they had a little bit better pass rush against Western Kentucky. They got some pressures. They got some hurries on that quarterback. I don't know. What do you think about this D line at Notre Dame compared to where they were at a year ago?
Well, we did lose a lot from that defensive line from last year. I mean, like you said, we lost Foskey to the graduation.
Adamiola brothers.
Yep, Adamiola brothers. Their name's always been hard for me to pronounce. But you've got the next big thing is supposed to be Riley Mills on the outside, but so far he hasn't been. It's only 4 games in, but he hasn't really lived up to it too much. So he's got to make a bigger splash, and then guys on the inside like Howard Cross and Will, help me out. Who's the other one that's been seeing a lot of time at D tackle for us?
Patello?
Yeah, Jordan Patello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I would definitely say that the line is not the same as last year, but they're not bad either.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
I
the
would go
fundamentals
ahead,
will
Will.
be better just because, I mean, Notre Dame had its worst game before its biggest game last year, or the biggest win last year against Stanford. And then they played like lights out against Clemson. So that's definitely the hope for Irish fans is that the look ahead games, they did not play well in last year. Just hoping they can pick that up. I mean, the look ahead game for USC was BC, and BC was garbage. So that didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm hopeful for with Ohio State with their D line, I would say this, is Mike Hall was a guy that had a huge game last year. It was kind of his coming out party. Notre Dame had a really hard time blocking him on the interior last year. I know Notre Dame's tackles are strong. We're looking at probably 2 first-round draft picks here. What do you think of the interior, the part of the Notre Dame offensive line, and how they might stand up? Because Ohio State does have a pretty good rotation of defensive tackles. I think Hall's a solid player. Williams has played well, too, as of the first few games. Plus, they have some depth there. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
The interior has been scary at times through these first 4 games. I can't lie about that. But they've also stepped up a number of times too. But it's just, that's the thing is, if they can get consistent, then I'm happy. I'm satisfied. But they've shown a little inconsistency so far. And when it comes to your interior, you don't want to see that. I mean, that can get scary pretty quick for your quarterback.
Like I would say, 4 out of every 5 plays, they look very good, and they look as good as Alt and Fisher do. But that 5th play, like they just fall on their face. So definitely hoping that gets cleaned up a bit. But I don't know. I trust Joe Rudolph so far. He's been pretty good. So hopefully
I go ahead.
No,
Mark, I don't know if you heard I heard the Buckeye talk earlier, and the Notre Dame guy had said that he had thought this would be the best secondary that Ohio State would face this year. I'm not going to say that that's untrue. I do think Penn State's really strong. I would say it's one of the 2 best. I think Penn State might be right up there. I don't know if you rank secondaries at the beginning of the year, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when he made that statement, I certainly didn't choose to challenge him on that, but after pondering it a little bit, I came up with Penn State and Michigan as being at least a good argument. Michigan's corners with, of course, Will Johnson, got Mike Sanders still, and the UMass transfer is a really good player, Josh Wallace. And then, like you say, between Keelan King and the rest of the players there at Penn State, we could run down the Penn State. I just think Penn State, man, if their defense plays up to its potential this year, I think they do have the best defense in the Big Ten all around. But it was a bit not that I again disagreed with it necessarily, but I think Michigan and Penn State are certainly right there.
Well, I definitely think that the 2 corners, and as well as the slot corner and Harper, Morrison and Hart are very good. And also Xavier Watts at the first safety is really good. And I was worried about DJ Brown, but DJ had an amazing game against NC State. Like, he just balled out. So if he's at that level against Ohio State, obviously he's going to be facing much tougher competition. Then I'll feel really good about the secondary. But there is a little bit of concern about him. But I don't know. I think the DBs have played fantastic so far.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me too is if Notre Dame can run the football in this game. I mean, that's the one thing I was thinking too about the interior is if Ohio State can hold up pretty well on the inside, because obviously Notre Dame probably wants to run the ball in between the tackles. I think a little bit more, and Ohio State's strength is probably going to be a little bit more defensive tackle and their linebackers. Chambers and Eichenberg have played really well so far, so that's also going to be interesting to watch. I don't know if you expect Notre Dame to maybe establish ground game earlier, or maybe Hartman to them to open it up. I know that Marcus talked about maybe opening it up a little bit offensively in this press conference. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, it's funny that you mention that because we know that a lot of coaches do this for like the first 2 or 3 games and they don't show the whole playbook. I could see that. I could see them trying something different that we haven't seen yet. But I think as far as like the basic plays, the basic offensive strategy. I mean, of course, yeah, you always want to get a ground game going, and with as deep as our running back core is, you really want to get that going and use all that talent, just to open up the pass and so on. I know it's basic strategy, but yeah, that's definitely for sure. You want to see them open up the run game early and actually have success with it. And not just be getting stopped for a 2-yard loss, but then get 4. I want to see something consistent.
Mm-hmm. I think that maybe we might open up a bit more passing than usual. I mean, because that's what Michigan did. So maybe Notre Dame might go off of their plan. Might have worked for them.
All right, David. Anything else for us?
Really, I will say, yeah. Well, I was just going to say the other component of why I think this Ohio State defense may have leveled up a little bit better this year is they're also a little bit better at corner, I think, than they were a year ago. Remember, Mark, we talked about that being a concern from a year ago. I think Burke at corner has first-round potential, and that's also going to be interesting to see as well. I expect, Ohio State gave up a lot of big pass plays towards the end of the year, which was kind of their death nail in those last couple games defensively. So that's going to be interesting to see if Notre Dame, that's what I was talking about, maybe opening up the offense and if they take some shots down the field. I expect Ohio State to be better prepared than they were, especially in those later games that we saw towards the end of the last season. I would say the last 3 games of last year, because I think Maryland started to expose them before those last 2 games even.
All right, folks, we're going to take these final 3 or 4 calls here. And David, we appreciate you stopping by. Anything else?
No, that's okay. I just want to say I think it's going to be a great game. My early feel is I think it's going to be a 1-possession game. I'm leaning somewhere in the neighborhood of 28-24 Ohio State, maybe 31-24. But I think it's going to be a good one.
All right, David. Well, enjoy it.
All right,
we'll
guys.
have our
Good
watch party here for anyone who wants to stop by and watch it with us.
Yeah.
See
are you bringing the chips, Mark, or do I need to bring the queso, or what are you?
I'm supplying the YouTube channel, so you have to supply everything else. I'm expecting to be catered to by everyone else.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll be sure to bring the potato chips.
Okay. Very good.
All right. You take care,
Thanks,
guys.
David.
Enjoy the game.
We'll see you.
Yep.
You too, David.
All right. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. We've got Missouri on top.
Yeah, Missouri on top.
Congratulations on your win.
Yeah, we're gonna go 12-0. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully you're not putting anything of value on that.
Why? Why do you say that? I mean, we're just gonna go crazy. I mean, we got like Vanderbilt, and then who else? Like
a bunch of teams that typically beat you every year.
Are you? What?
Again, I'm just saying. Let's be cautious. We appreciate and certainly are hoping for the best for you. But enjoy your 3-0 start.
I mean, we have Memphis and Vanderbilt. Come on, like we're gonna go 5-0, and then I mean LSU we might like only win by 5 points, but like we're still gonna win. So
I would love you to beat them, but I don't want to put my money on it.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to stop thinking about the players, and we just need to think about more of how much dog we have in us. And the Missouri Tigers, we have that dog in us.
Okay. Do you have any tiger in you?
Yes, we have tiger in us.
Okay.
We have a little growl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got a good field goal kicker. I know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what we need to start doing is just when we get to the 70, like when we can kick a 70, we should just like put them in. And
Absolutely. Yeah. You move the ball out to the 40 and you kick a 69-yarder, and there you go. You could do that every drive, and that would be if anybody's going to do that, Eli Drinkwitz might be that guy.
I mean, I think he's going to get drafted in the NFL, but probably on like 6th round, 5th round. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I would love to see Missouri do good things this year.
I mean, I got some other hot
Would love
takes.
to see some.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is this just a Notre Dame fan club?
We are talking about all the big games, but we highlighted Sean to start out. So Sean's our guest. He hosts our Notre Dame post game, and we want to serve a niche. And since nobody else in the world is talking about the Ohio State Notre Dame game, we thought we would be the one outlet that had any interest in this game. We just thought we would be the sole pinpoint for people to come to talk about Ohio State Notre Dame, because we know they're talking about Missouri at all these other channels and outlets. So we just wanted to be one of the few that talked Ohio State Notre Dame, since nobody's going to watch that game, but there will be a few people watching that game on Saturday night.
Okay, so my take on Notre Dame is they'll probably do good, and then Ohio State, they'll probably have that dog in them, and they're probably gonna whip on Notre Dame 54-12.
Oh, that would hurt.
Okay, 54-12. Missouri's got who this week? Memphis?
Yeah, Memphis. We're gonna whip them 60-0.
60-0. Okay.
Memphis is not good.
Okay.
And then we have Vanderbilt.
How good is Middle Tennessee State?
About as good as
about as good as Missouri, I think, after they played a 23-19 game.
I mean, honestly, I think Middle Tennessee State is about as good as Bama.
About as good as the team that they played the week before they played you.
Yep.
Do you I believe have access to the internet, correct? Since you were able to call us?
Yep.
Okay. You may want to check the scores of those games.
Honestly, I don't believe all the scores. I mean, who is watching Alabama?
You're right. You can't believe everything you read on the internet. I think they just make up those scores.
Especially like the FCS teams. The FCS teams, they just roll over them, like nobody's watching, and it's not like anyone's recording it, so they just make up scores to make the Power 5 to make the Power 5 teams look so good. I mean, it's all about Missouri. Missouri's the only good Power 5 team.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to have to readjust my Google searches, because every time I look up Missouri's record, they almost hit 500 dead on. So there must be something wrong. Missouri's won how many national championships in a row?
12.
12. Yeah. Okay. All right, Missouri on top. We hope that you continue your run of national championships, and we'll be looking out for that 60-0 game this Saturday.
We play our own championship, I mean, we already won the championship.
That I'm convinced of. That you just answered a lot right there. You do play your own championship.
Since we beat Kansas State, we basically won. Come on.
All right, Missouri on top. We appreciate you stopping by.
Okay, bye. I'm gonna win another 10 national championships.
Absolutely. All
Dang,
right.
I didn't know McD became a Mizzou fan.
Okay, has anybody seen those videos of people prank calling public access shows? That's what I feel like just happened right now.
Yeah. Well,
Or he was just having fun. If he was having fun, great.
I don't know how long it takes for somebody to make up their little name and avatar, but he did have a Missouri profile picture there. So, there we go.
Some of
we
the
do know
comments are priceless.
we do know JR here. JR's stepping in here. JR, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mark?
I am doing just fine. What's going on?
Oh, just excited for this Ohio State Notre Dame game. I think guests here are excited as well. And I gotta be honest. I want to apologize for all the Ohio State fans out there. I'm an Ohio State fan, and I feel like there's been so much disrespect toward Notre Dame, and I think it's gonna be a great game. I think that it's going to come down to a field goal at the end of the game, and I think that Notre Dame is going to have a really, really good environment, and it's really going to come down to the quarterbacks between Sam Hartman and Kyle McCord. I am interested because I haven't heard as much about him, and I've tried to watch some Notre Dame, but I watched just so much Big Ten, I don't get as much of a chance. How is Javon Baptiste doing this year? I mean, I know he was from Ohio State and came over to you guys, and he's playing edge, DN now, or something like that. How's he doing this year?
He hasn't played every snap, but when he does play, he looks good. But they're limiting his snaps a bit.
Yeah, he's been getting the pressure on. But like I said earlier, the whole line, they've been getting pressure but not finishing. But that could change. But him in particular, he's done pretty well.
Yeah, I know he's more of a speed guy than maybe the power through, and I know there are some Ohio State fans that are concerned about that because Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau have been more the power through this year. So I think it'll be interesting. I think Ohio State's offensive line has improved each game, but I think Notre Dame has an underrated defensive line as well. So really good running backs, really good lines on both sides to make it happen. I don't have as many hot takes as our past Missouri fan does, so I don't have many of those to give you to entertain you. But
you should have probably, JR, dropped out of the line as soon as you heard the Missouri call because you just in no way were going to be able to follow that up.
Well, I saw in the private chat that he put Missouri as the best football team, and so I was really interested to hear what he had to say, and then
then he hit us with all those advanced metrics to back up his point.
Yeah, well, I was sitting here and I had PFF pulled up, and I was getting ready to list off some PFF stats, and I thought, well, nothing I say will top anything that he just had to say. So,
well, he definitely was having fun, or he was on some strong stuff. That's for sure.
And therefore having fun regardless.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Same thing.
Oh my. Yeah, that's very true. So, and I think the other interesting part that everybody's talking about the quarterbacks this game, but the interesting part for me is that, Notre Dame, I don't think it's any secret, the last 2 or 3 quarterbacks you all have not exactly been to your standard. And I've heard that from Notre Dame fans, so I don't feel like I'm disrespecting anybody here by saying that. But, the past 2 or 3 quarterbacks that Ryan Day has had have all been Heisman finalists, first-round picks, and it's this really weird dichotomy where they just basically flipped because Sam Hartman, the Heisman finalist, he's getting a lot, or Heisman hopeful, I guess, and he's at the top of many people's Heisman lists, and then you have Kyle McCord that's really struggled here in the beginning, had a QB battle. Are you guys worried about Kyle McCord, or are you kind of just like he hasn't looked great and we'll see if he can actually beat us?
I'm worried about him in the sense that Ryan Day is a great quarterbacks coach and that maybe he finds it himself. Then that's my one concern, but nothing that I've seen from him concerns me so far.
I mean, it's his first time starting, right? So he's probably not going to show you much to begin with, but that doesn't mean you take him lightly.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. And that's how I treat not just every quarterback, but every opponent. You can't take them lightly because the moment you take them lightly, that's when it comes back to bite you.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said at the beginning, people have been taking you guys lightly. or at least the Ohio State fans have, at least. But I think the other thing is that people have been taken lightly are the Notre Dame wide receivers. I know they're not exactly the most polished group in the world, but the more and more I read up on them and the more I look at it, they're all really, really good athletes. I'm not even convinced Lorenzo Styles, if he was still around, would even be
that's why he
wide
left.
receiver 3 or 4. Right, that's what I've heard. So, I don't know. I mean, do you guys feel like those guys are developing more into actual – no, I shouldn't say actual wide receivers. That's disrespectful. But more kind of that skill set and not
like
just the athletic?
established, you mean?
Yeah.
I know what you were talking about. Yeah, I think they're coming along great, especially a Jaden Greathouse, true freshman, who's made an amazing impact to start. Jaden Thomas has come along nicely. I still want to see more of Tobias Merriweather, and he's seen more action as the season's progressed. I mean, 2 catches last week, I think 80 some odd yards and 1 touchdown. So you get more of him involved. I'm going to be really excited about this receiving core.
And Chris Tyree as well is also similar skill set to Tobias.
Chris Tyree's like super fast, isn't he?
Well, he came to us as a running back.
Yeah.
And they converted him to a receiver this year.
That's right. Yeah, the one Notre Dame game I think I've watched all the way through has been the Navy game. And unfortunately, I think that was the game that told us the least about the
Well, all I know is I was there in Ireland for that one.
Were you? That's awesome.
Didn't go in the stadium. Couldn't afford a ticket because they were going for stupid money.
Wow.
But I was there. I was nearby the stadium, and the Guinness couldn't have tasted any better.
Yeah. So I'm curious then. So like, were the people in Ireland like really, really stoked for that game? Are they actual Irish fans? They were just ready to watch football? What was the whole scene there?
Oh, they despite the fact of what people think, like that they don't care about American football, that's not true. A lot of the locals that I talked to, and plus I was with a couple of my friends over there who are native Irish, they love it. They love American football, and they love Notre Dame for the Fighting Irish name. So it's not that they just go along with it just because it's a trend. No, they genuinely love it over there, and of course they did show their respect for the Naval Academy, but I mean, let's be real, everybody was for Notre Dame, the overwhelming majority over there. But no, the locals were getting into it. They were loving it. They knew what was going on, and so yeah, it was an absolute blast.
Oh, it's a national brand, and you have to think that that goes outside of the nation as well to others, and those things. So
it's an international brand.
Yeah, international.
Yeah.
Words.
I'm surprised Notre Dame hasn't been called on the carpet at this point for its nickname of Fighting Irish. I would think that would have offended somebody at some point.
Oh, those people over in Ireland, they love that name. They embrace it. They love it. I'm not going to get into a political route or anything, but with their history, they're fighting people, and they love that name.
Mark, that's a really good idea. We should have a political call-in show at some point.
Oh, God.
I want Missouri on top back for that one.
I don't know how many people would still be here with me.
I guess
I would enjoy it.
It depends what side of the spectrum you fall on.
Or something.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. It depends what side of the spectrum you fall on, I guess.
Well, JR, I will say from time to time, I sit here thinking, this is kind of silly, what we're doing here. Maybe we could talk about some things that actually matter in this world. But I don't know that that's the route to go.
Well, I'm here for it, Mark. Voice of politics, voice of, religion.
The voice of America.
The voice of America, yeah. You maybe you get the president on someday and just have him field the call-in calls.
I would love to have any president on. I would, yes, I would. Oh man, we're going in a direction, yeah. All right.
Well, since this has gotten
I'm sure
away
there's people that follow me on Twitter here that have seen some things.
Yeah, we know what side you're on.
Well, since this has gone away from Ohio State, Notre Dame, appreciate the talk, guys. Appreciate the insight. I'll let the next caller
JR, we appreciate you, and we will let people know that JR's got his channel, and I was so honored to be invited on that Sunday night. So hopefully some people are watching that. Where can people find you, JR?
The Big Ten Huddle. We talk about Big Ten football, all those things. So if you're like a deep Rutgers fan and you don't find anybody talking about you, we got you covered there.
Good stuff.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you,
you,
JR.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right. We now go to the most great caller, but has got to do something about his handle. That's okay.
Hey, man, look.
Here we go.
I might change it. Before I talk about this game, I got to address some blasphemy I heard in here. Until proven otherwise, the defense that returned pretty much all of its production from last year is the best defense in the Big Ten. Until proven otherwise.
The defense
anyway,
got shredded by TCU. And
look, we want to talk about. We want to talk about shredded. Penn State got shredded by Michigan, 400 yards. Ohio State's defense got shredded in multiple games.
I'm not touting Penn State or Ohio State's defense. You're touting Michigan's defense as being the best in the country.
No, I said Big Ten. I said Big Ten.
Okay. Well, I do not believe that Michigan. I certainly think they're in the running for that. I will take Penn State's defense right now. I think that there are 4 defenses in the Big Ten that have the potential to be extremely strong, and that's Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Iowa.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think the defense that was clearly the best in the Big Ten last year, without debate. I mean, I don't even know how you debate it. Who returned all of that production is arguably even deeper this year.
You don't think
who's also the number one?
Iowa had a better defense than Michigan last year?
You could make that. I would make the argument that the defense that held Ohio State to 23 points, the defense that really shut down Penn State, the defense that put up record numbers in the second half, the defense. I mean, I could keep going. I would say that defense that's even deeper this year and returned to everybody, who's also the number currently. Despite competition, the number 1 scoring defense in the country, the number 2 overall total defense in the country, whose starting unit has only given up 3 points to 3 games, barely 100 yards. I mean, I can keep going, man, but I just don't know how we can sit up here and talk about secondaries and defenses and not pay respect to that defense. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I did include Michigan in the conversation about best secondaries that Ohio State will play.
Yeah, no doubt. But here, I want to talk about this game, man. Enough about that. We can talk about that until the cows come home, all that stuff. This is a toss-up game, man. I'm excited, man. Finally, we've had some good ones, but this one is the most excited I've been since preseason. And especially with the way these games are gone, I don't know how this game's going to go. I think there's question marks on both sides. I think the trench battle is going to be interesting. And I think it's going to be cool to see how McCord stacks up if he faces some pressure and vice versa. So no, do you guys put your score predictions out yet?
No, but we've got your fellow Michigan fans citing total defense numbers after playing East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. Come on, let's be better than that. Continue.
Hey, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that. I agree. The competition ain't there, but I'm just saying. This defense is the same defense, pretty much. That was clearly the best defense in the Big Ten last year, and they're arguably even deeper this year.
It wasn't.
But anyways,
the best defense in the Big Ten. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know how we dispute that. But anyways, let's talk about this game, man. We like I said, we can talk about that till the cows come home.
It can be argued that Iowa had as good, if not a better defense, and Illinois than Michigan did last year.
I mean, they were right there, but I mean, did they play Ohio State, or how much Ohio State?
Well, we're losing you probably at a appropriate time. All right, you with us?
Well, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah, can you hear me?
We got you. Yes.
Oh yeah, there we go. How much did Ohio State score in Iowa last year? Out of curiosity.
Do you understand the game of football?
Yeah, I understand. I'm just curious what they scored. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Scored. I'm not a Google machine. You can Google search any score that you'd like. We don't need to go into that. You know what the score was, but I'm in response to that, just asking if you understand football, which of course you do. We've had enough conversations to understand that there's a lot of context, especially when you're talking about that outfit in Iowa City that you have to put to the scores.
No, that's true. That's true. I'm just saying, common opponent.
A lot.
Michigan played the better offenses. They shut down the better offenses for the most part. Hell, Ohio State to 3 points, a historic offense in the second half of a game.
Yeah.
They were actually one of the greatest second half defenses we've ever seen. I mean, we can do this all day, man.
Yeah, and we also saw them play TCU. Are you really going to defend that game?
Well, I'm not going to look. Hold on. That was a bad game. They gave up 30-some points as a defense, and that was a bad game. But that's one game.
Wait a minute.
And we're comparing them to
the Iowa score against Ohio State and just flat out taking that score. But then you're going to be subtracting all the Michigan offense.
Well, I could bring up Penn State too. They did that to multiple teams that had decent to good offense.
Yeah, well,
that's my point.
TCU lit up your defense. Let's understand that first of all. And let's understand when Iowa and Michigan were on the same field last year, taking into consideration that Michigan had a capable offense, a really good offense. So Iowa was facing a really good offense in Michigan. Michigan was facing a bottom 5 in the country offense that I would say that Iowa's defense outperformed Michigan's in that game.
Here's what I'll give you, Mark. If you want to make the argument for Iowa, that's fine. But you cannot make the argument for Ohio State, Penn State. If you want to concede on that, that's fine. I'll take that.
First of all,
but you definitely cannot make the argument for Penn State, Ohio State.
Not yet. I can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. So proven otherwise.
Yeah. Well, that was last.
Yeah, we have some classic debates, Mark. Like these are classics.
Well, I hope that we've had better debates.
You know, but yeah. Well, I'm gonna get off, man.
Debates in my history, so. Move on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where are we going here? Okay.
Oh yeah. Here's what the one thing I would be worried about with Ohio State, and the one thing I'm looking out for is if you can get. This probably been talked about. Is if you could get pressure with just the four, with just the 4 linemen. Because to me, they have gone pressure. Don't get me wrong. They haven't gone home, but I feel like if you can't get pressure on Hartman, I feel he can eat that defense up. Now, then again, that secondary. Maybe they are improved. Maybe they've shored up a lot of things. They do look better to me. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that is a top 3 crucial point of this game when it comes to Ohio State winning this game? And something that you want to see, especially going forward for Ohio State, to see if they can shore up some things later in the season?
Well, I think that Sam Hartman is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in college football, and so it's imperative for any team to put pressure on him. Otherwise, they're going to struggle all day at some point, regardless of how good their secondary is. Just the way football is played, the receiving units have a huge advantage over a secondary. So even if you take the best secondary in the country and have them line up against a capable wide receiver core, and a good quarterback, they're eventually going to get eaten alive if they have to defend for 5, 6, 7 seconds. You have to have a pass rush against a good quarterback, and Sam Hartman is borderline great as a collegiate quarterback. So, yes, they need pressure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because, look, this isn't hater talk here. I just feel like outside of really that Penn State game, I want to really call JTT elite.
Oh,
I want it. I mean, outside that Penn State game, he hasn't really put up elite numbers. Like, let's be real.
True.
So this is a put up or shut up game for JTT. Sawyer to me, I don't know how to feel about Sawyer. I really don't. He to me really hasn't exploded yet. And to me, they're the 2 biggest question marks. And then you go to the other side, which is offense. McCord. I'm not even really going to comment on McCord. He's a first-time starter. He could show up and show everybody that he's the best QB in the Big Ten, or he crumbles under the pressure. Like I said, it's a toss-up. There's not really too much to say. But I'm gonna let you guys go. Like I said, I had to address that blasphemy. And then hope you guys have a good night. All right.
Diego
Okay.
Blue.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Here we go. Let's keep it rolling. We're going in line here. Who's next here at the Voice of College Football?
It's me. It's Dr. C.
Oh, yes,
doing
it is
tonight?
Dr. C. Good to hear from you. How are you?
Hey, doing well, enjoying the show.
I got to roll, guys, but
Oh,
I'll-
Oh,
Thanks,
well,
Will.
no, you can't leave. You're the one that the
Oh.
question was directed to.
Will, you're the one.
Oh, okay. I'll stay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, okay, so you warned everybody about Tommy.
Yes, I did.
Now, are you seeing with Alabama, do you believe it's a quarterback issue or it's Tommy R?
Oh, well, Tommy can't develop quarterbacks. That's part of the problem. And also, I do not think he put Tyler Buckner in a position to succeed out there because he didn't have him barely ran at all. He barely ran at all. So, like, you got to have Tyler run to help to make him be at his best.
So is Reese the problem? Do you think that it's a one and done for him at Alabama?
I think that's a very strong possibility. Yeah, I think that Nick Saban could definitely pull the plug on Tommy Reese after a year.
Well, just to add in, if I could, something I want to see too is I want to see what Tommy can do with an elite quarterback because he hasn't. He had. I'm not defending him, but I want to see what he can actually do with an elite quarterback. Because if he screws up with an elite quarterback, then that says all you need to know.
Great point. And then lastly, I'm going to make it quick, and this is for everyone. If Georgia and Alabama were running through teams and all the rest of the SEC was having the year that they're having right now, do folks would they consider the SEC still the reigning conference in college football? Being everything remaining the same except for Georgia and Alabama crushed. Alabama went into Texas and crushed. Well, Alabama crushed Texas. Georgia's running through everyone. Is the SEC still the top conference?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking.
You're asking me to evaluate what a bunch of people that really don't know what they're talking about.
Well, no, I've just got to thinking of that because you know how the rest of the country never seems to really understand how good the SEC is or how bad it is. And I've talked to everyone, you know, Georgia and Alabama traditionally were just these recent years is not the SEC, right? South Carolina, Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida, that's the SEC. Okay. These are the elite teams. So if Alabama and Georgia were still running, you know, if Alabama won 48-7 against Texas and Georgia just did Georgia, you know, they weren't having these off.
I got your answer.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. For the last 15 years, the SEC has been the best conference. Now, has it been as good as a lot of SEC fans believe in its distance above the rest of college football? No. But it has clearly been the best conference. It's not even debatable. It's not debatable because whether you want to just stick to on-the-field results, the SEC has been by far the best in winning the national championship, in participating in the national championship, in participating in winning playoff games, in ranking teams near the top of the sport, in the top 10, in the top 15. And then if you take last year, for an example, and this is every year before this year, the SEC is mounted by far the best string of wins versus the other conferences than anybody else every year.
I agree.
Now, this year, the SEC has basically accomplished nothing. Alabama's lost to Texas. LSU's lost to Florida State. We could go on down the line. Texas A&M's lost them. Really, the conference has won no significant games. I'll give it Missouri beating Kansas State. That's a nice win, actually. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. That's a nice win for the SEC. And am I missing any other game? No, South Carolina lost to North Carolina. Mississippi State needed overtime to beat Arizona. No, Ole Miss's win against Georgia Tech, not impressive. It was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter and big deal. They blew out Georgia Tech. No, Arkansas lost to BYU. The SEC has been horrible this year. But I am not willing to make this leap that the SEC has gone from decidedly the best to the worst or anything less than that. I think that the SEC has obviously taken a bit of a tumble. We do have basically very little to go on the rest of the regular season because the SEC is only going to play 4 games against the ACC. And then we'll have the bowl games and whatever value we want to place in those and the playoff for the SEC to kind of recover its reputation. But as it stands right now, if you're just basing the argument on 2023, there is no SEC fan anywhere that could come on this show and argue to me just based on results, not NFL draft selections, not recruiting rankings, based on the results on the field, that this is the best conference in college football this year, even though I still believe that it probably is. On the field results show that it is not.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. But I still believe, and I don't know if you guys agree, that if Georgia, Alabama were doing what I said, people would say, "Oh, it's still the number one conference."
Sure.
We have
People pay more attention to the top than they do the rest of the conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the problem. I think growing up, like I'm a USC, Arkansas fan. Growing up, even I had, I'm listening to ESPN. I always thought, well, hey, when we go to bowl games, they don't know what they're going up against. We played Wisconsin and lost to them. We played UNLV. It was very close game. And I was like, wait a second. We're not this team that just, and Arkansas was doing pretty well in the SEC. They weren't a powerhouse, but I grew up with the concept that the mid-tier to low-tier SEC team could put 40 on anyone, right? And I think that's what the SEC fans still believe till this day, because the ESPN and these networks have, they're signed with the SEC. And they're going to promote the SEC, and rightfully so. And I do believe it's the best conference, but not by the margin that most folks believe.
Well, that's because of basically 2 reasons. Number one, people believe in the extremes. So they run to extremes. Your team sucks. My team's great. This conference is great. This conference sucks. And there's very little that people determine to be somewhere in between. That's one thing. And then people suffer from groupthink. They basically let everybody else tell them what they should think about without doing their own research or their own thinking for themselves.
Agree. And, the SEC is really smart. For instance, was it Florida that hadn't played a non-conference team on their field since like 1989?
Yes.
So, I mean,
this should not go on in college football. And Will, if you need to leave, we want to respect that. Certainly duck out anytime you need to.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Hey,
Absolutely.
thanks, Will. Thanks for staying on.
Yes. And this is another reason why we had this conversation with Sean at the beginning about Notre Dame. And I don't blame Notre Dame in any such way, but this is why we need a commissioner, governing body of college football to allow Florida, for example, to not play an out-of-conference game outside the state of Florida for 34 years is insane. And then also when they played Oregon State last year in the bowl game, they had not played a Pac-12 team since 1987. How can there be a team in a conference not play another team from another conference? Any of those, not that they didn't play like 5 of them, or they didn't play any of them for 35 years. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, but, they were out playing, these non-conference games, you'll have them play University of Louisiana Monroe and things of that nature.
Well, to Florida's defense, they play Florida State outside the conference every year. And so they basically just said one of 2 things is going to happen. Either that's our only difficult non-conference game. It's going to be Florida State. And we're obviously going to play all those games in the state of Florida. Or if we have to play somebody else, we're going to go play them in some NFL stadium like they did Michigan 5 years ago.
Absolutely. And in a way, that kind of destroyed college football, where the conferences just aren't playing each other, right? And I don't blame them, because if you're playing University of Louisiana Monroe and you're going 12-0, it looks a lot better than if you're playing powerhouses and you're 9-3, right? Who is the committee going to pick? So the schools were put in a hard place to play cupcakes and pad their schedules. And the SEC padded their schedule as better than I think any other conference.
Yeah, so that's partially true. That's a partial truth. And the reason I say that is, let's understand, number one, that the SEC plays 4 non-conference games. And so there's only one other conference right now that plays 4 non-conference games. So that gives you a lot of play with your non-conference schedule to do some things. So both is true. The people that pile on the SEC for playing more cupcakes than anyone, they are right. You are right in saying that. I go through the conference rankings, my own conference rankings. I actually have to produce this video because I've compiled all the stats of what these teams do. And right now, the SEC by far has played, as it always does, more FCS games than anyone. They've played 11. You know, the Big Ten's played 5. The Pac-12 has played 4 FCS teams. And they're going to play another batch of them the next to the last game of the season. However, that's because they play 4 non-conference games and not 3. So in addition to that, they are scheduling difficult games in those other 3 games. So if you follow me, both can be true. The SEC loads up on FCS games, but they also go out and they, you know, if you run down the list of teams that this conference beat, the SEC last year, non-conference, it is impressive.
Yeah, they did do a good job. And you're right, they are the best. I do believe they're the best conference. But as we mentioned, not as, you know, there isn't that huge gap that I grew up believing, right? You know, if the SEC is a 10, you know, the Big 12 is probably 8.5, you know, then you've got the other conferences. But, you know, the other conferences
not push it, but
well, I just want to add in too, you could definitely see the gap close a lot quicker now that, you know, you have things like the NIL in place and so on, and the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So those are definitely going to be factors in the gap closing.
Absolutely. And now the rise, hopefully, of USC again. Hopefully Texas is, you know, I'm not going to say they're back, but they're, you know, there's smoke signals. There's smoke there. So,
well, that's going to help the SEC.
Yeah, in a way. Well, actually, that's a bad example right there. But other teams other than Alabama, that's what we need. Other than, you know, Georgia is, you know, they'll have a run for a couple more years. But with USC, Ohio State, Texas being strong, and hopefully Florida State, you know, now we have a little bit of, you know, some competition and not just one team, you know, being head and shoulders above everyone and stockpiling teams. In a way, thanks to the NIL and thanks to the transfer portal. So, yeah.
All right, Dr. C, we appreciate you being here.
Hey, thank you so much for taking my call, and have a great rest of your night.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, we're going to take 2 more calls here at the Voice of College Football. And in the meantime, you all can enjoy this. Go to games all the time, or you've got your heart set on that one huge matchup. Go to Ticketsmarter.com to save big. Ticketsmarter technology gives you the best competitive prices on the secondary market. Your purchase price is safe and guaranteed. Use promo code BIG, B-I-G, to get $10 off of any purchase of at least $100, or the promo code BIG20, BIG20, to get $20 off of any purchase of at least $300. Use the promo code as many times as you'd like. There is no limit. Get in the game with Ticketsmarter.com or the TicketSmarter mobile app. Think smarter, Ticket Smarter. All right. So yes, Ticketsmarter.com or the TicketSmarter app. Please use it. Use the promo code BIG, B-I-G, or BIG20 if you're spending more than $300 on that purchase. All right, let's get to our next caller here at the Voice of College Football. We got Buckeye Mike here.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. So as far as this game goes, yeah, I'm concerned with the defense. They seem to have shored up a lot, but like we've all said, it's cupcake competition. Other than Indiana, of course. And I do worry about getting pressure on Sam Hartman. I think Sam Hartman has the potential to slice and dice the defense if we cannot get pressure. And I think I'm actually worried for once outside of Michigan. So, I mean, because I don't know. I don't feel like I have a lot of faith in Kyle McCord yet. And I just think it's a lot because we haven't seen him play in an actual big game yet for obvious reasons.
That is all logical. That all makes complete sense. Sean, I don't know if you've been around for any of it or picked up on any of it, but there's been this struggle between whether it's Ohio State fans or Ohio State haters, just this thought that during the offseason that, okay, what is Kyle McCord in this offense going to be? Because on one hand, the conventional thought is, well, there's no way he's going to be as good as CJ Stroud. There's no way he can be as good as a number 2 pick in the NFL draft right out of the gate. And so there's going to be all these growing pains, and there's no way they're going to be as good. But then on the other hand, there's this litany of candidates, of examples over the last 20 some years of Ohio State quarterbacks. And I threw this number out the other day. The last 10 Ohio State quarterbacks that had 0 starting experience when they started a season won the Big Ten championship, or in CJ Stroud's case, went to a college football playoff. So all of them succeeded at a championship level, 10 in a row, with 0 starting experience at the start of the season. So that's the track record. Plus it's Ryan Day developing quarterbacks, but it's the reality of this guy's a complete unknown.
Yeah, in a way, he's raw talent. I mean,
yes,
that's just how it goes with quarterbacks. I mean, it's seen actual game action for the first time. Like, and when I say game action, I mean like when it comes to starting quarterbacks, like actually being the guy, knowing that you're the guy to lead this offense. So yeah, it's growing pains, it's coaching, it's a mixture of a lot of different things. But yeah, I mean, I've seen this myself with quarterbacks that we've had, in past years, and I mean, you do have to just give them some time to find their, to find their groove, for lack of a better term, and, pick up on things. Cause I mean, yeah, you can't just expect miracles right away. You can't expect All-American or Heisman type performances right away. Now some you might, but those are usually the exceptions. So yeah, I mean, do you know what your quarterback McCord has now? No, not exactly, but you just got to give him time on that. It was the same with us with Ian Book before this.
Yep, we will know a lot more, Buckeye Mike, this time next week.
Yeah, I just a lot of it is just like, will he shrink? That's what I'm like worried about. You know what I mean? Like, can he
CJ Stroud shrink? Did Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, JT Barrett, Braxton Miller? I'm going through that list of 10 that all won a Big Ten championship at the conclusion of their first year starting, or went to the playoffs.
It's just, for the first time, I'm just like, my emotions this season so far have been all over, like mad at the team because yes, we won against Indiana, and that's good. A win is a win, but the performance in my eyes should have been just a little bit better. Obviously involve the receivers more. And then the play against Youngstown State seemed a little sloppy to me, at least in the beginning. And can I address something real quick? it says a lot to me in a negative way if your team is a second half team. Now, I know Ohio State's gone through that themselves before, but if you have to rely on coming back or having to have a big second half performance, it says a lot in a negative way to me.
I'm getting all sorts of comments in the chat that Stroud shrank. I don't know.
I think they're
what that
referring to
means.
Michigan. I think
Yeah,
in
but
their eyes,
he
they
played
probably
big
shrank
games before that. We're talking about Kyle McCord against CJ Stroud. To blame him for losing the first time he played Michigan, they lost the game. He threw for 400 yards.
Yeah, he didn't really shrink. All he
It
did was
wasn't
lose.
him. It was their rushing defense gave up a zillion yards and got pushed all over the field and gave up 42 points. It wasn't him. And that wasn't his first. We're talking about Kyle McCord in his first major start against a borderline great opponent. We'll find out. Good or great opponent. I'm not talking about CJ Stroud against Michigan. I'm talking about all these quarterbacks the first time that they faced, the big stage, the big opponent. I don't think he.
Yeah. So I got in here late, but what do you guys think is the key matchup as far as side of the ball and like position battles to watch for?
Well, I definitely think the battle in the trenches, who wins the line. That's definitely one, because for speaking from the Notre Dame side of things, our offensive line has to step up and give Hartman the protection that he needs, but also our front seven, in particular our defensive line. We need to get pressure on the quarterback, on McCord, without having to blitz every single time. So that's what I think is going to be key. And then of course you have certain matchups in the receiver versus secondary, like Benjamin Morrison going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. That's going to be a key matchup. So that's what I think the key is.
Buckeye Mike, I'm going to feed into your fears a little bit because I have more confidence in Notre Dame's offensive line creating running room than Ohio State's. That's a bad knock against Ohio State. Another one is I believe that Ohio State needs to get more pressure on Sam Hartman than Notre Dame needs to get pressure on McCord, meaning that it's imperative to get pressure on the quarterback regardless, or else you're just so much better than the other team. It doesn't matter. You need to get pressure on the quarterback. Yeah. And both of these teams are pretty quarterback centric, not in a crazy unbalanced way, but they're the quarterback's pretty important. Like the quarterback's always important, but I mean, it's pretty high for both teams. But I believe Hartman, it only makes sense that he's going to navigate the pressure better than McCord. So Ohio State has to get more pressure on Hartman than Notre Dame does on McCord, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if the guy above me agrees, but I mean, to a degree, we've already seen Hartman under pressure. NC State is a prime example. It should have been it was a good game until NC State's defense just fell apart, I think. And
well, our defense stepped up too in that game as well, big time.
Yeah, and I guess what I meant was more like, it was the first noticeable-ish test for Notre Dame, whereas we haven't seen that with Ohio State. And honestly, I think...
And that would be the case if this was Hartman's first year. If we were comparing Hartman, and this is his first year against McCord, and this is his first year, Hartman would still have more on his resume playing NC State on the road than McCord does. But Hartman's got 50 starts. And I know he wasn't on the big stage at Notre Dame. He was at Wake Forest, but shoot, they played in an ACC championship game. They played a lot of quality opponents. He's seen everything, both from the standpoint of coverages and blitzes, but also from the standpoint of just being in loud stadiums with a lot of attention. Now, has he been in this kind of game? No, but a lot of players that are going to be out there have not played with everybody watching, even though they're playing at Notre Dame and Ohio State. And in a sense, every week is a big deal. They haven't played under these lights, but that's going to be a bunch of guys out there.
I mean, do you mean as in like the lights at Notre Dame? Because obviously no, but I mean, I would assume Wake Forest, played the likes of Clemson and Florida State.
Yeah, but
I
not
mean,
everybody in the
for the most part, I get
nation
your
was
point,
like
yeah.
tuning in to watch the game. Now, that may have
Yeah.
zero impact on him, or it may have some nominal impact.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think you guys are right as far as, the battle of the trenches and the line creating space for the run game. I mean, I really worry that Notre Dame could potentially torch Ohio State, whether it's through the air or on the ground, because there's a lot of unknowns in certain areas, and that's why, we're kind of questioning the certain things.
Well, Mike, I can tell you one thing, being an Irish fan, I would love it if that happened, if we just torched you guys, but anybody who actually thinks that would happen, to actually predict that, you'd be out of your mind to predict that. I mean, I can't say I'd be stupid if I said we're going to go in there and blow out Ohio State.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'd be.
And I don't think Ohio State is going to blow out Notre Dame. Now, if this happens from time to time, that games that are supposed to be amazing matchups turn out to be blowouts for whatever reason, I will say that only because of history, and maybe I shouldn't be thinking this way, if somebody did say right now, they could tell us this game's going to be 42-17.
Whoa.
I would be more inclined to think that was Ohio State winning the game. Why? Maybe I shouldn't feel that way. Maybe it's just because of history, which doesn't matter in this game. But I do not think that that's going to be the final score. I think it's going to be a tremendous game.
So here's the thing. I think it's funny you automatically went to 42-17. So I did 30-minute war last night with our buddy John, and my prediction for the game was 41-17 Notre Dame. And the thing is, on top of everything else that we've talked about, okay, Notre Dame has not beaten Ohio State since the freaking Great Depression.
Yeah, they've only played 5 times, but
sure. I know.
Yeah.
But, Notre Dame is due for one. And Notre Dame is due for...
Do you believe in that phrase you just stated? Isn't Rutgers due to beat Ohio State this year? Well, they are.
Well, I mean, Rutgers is on a different level than Notre Dame.
Indiana hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1988. They play them every year. They've lost 35 consecutive times. Aren't they due to beat Ohio State? No. I get your point. I don't believe in that whole we're due business, especially when you play 5 times in 70 years.
I'm kind of surprised that never happened with that they didn't play more with Indiana being right next to Ohio. You think because we play
Ohio State.
Yeah, because we've like back in like all throughout our history, for the most part, we played primarily a Big Ten schedule, a lot of Big Ten teams.
Yeah,
and you would.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you well know, especially Michigan State, Purdue were always on the schedule for decades. And Notre Dame was obviously they had a pattern of locking in their schedule to it was very much those 3, and it was Stanford, and it was USC, and it was Navy. So there was about 7 or 8 slots taken up every year. Now that they've signed this ACC deal, then it's pretty much all laid out for them. In Ohio State, you're playing in the Big Ten, so you got 3 other games. But you're right. You would think there would be, I don't know, enough clamoring for someone for 60 years that they didn't play, that it's like these are 2 of the biggest brands in sports, and they're 3 hours away from each other.
It's like, how do you not play more times between 1936 and 1996? I just always found that baffling.
Yeah,
that you couldn't play at least a few more times than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess this whole QB talk, to me, Sam Hartman is probably the best quarterback Notre Dame's had since at least Brady Quinn.
Yep.
And to me, Kyle McCord, obviously not like on the experience level and the creating plays, running out of the pocket level, but I feel like McCord is comparable to, I would say, maybe Craig Krenzel.
Oh boy, you're like, I get your point, but they just played a completely different brand of football. And Craig Krenzel completed 7 passes and won a national championship game. So yeah, I get your point. Craig Krenzel also started games in the NFL, but Kyle McCord's going to have to put up much better numbers than Craig Krenzel. That was over 20 years ago, and that team slugged it out. Well, I get your point, though. I get your point.
Right, like the style of quarterback.
If you threw out a ridiculous stat line for Kyle McCord on either end, I would be inclined to think it's going to be somewhere in between. If you said he's going to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns Saturday night, or if you said he's going to throw for $125, 40% with 4 picks, I doubt that either is going to happen.
If he throws for $125, I doubt it'd be 4 picks. I think it'd be somewhere like you're saying, 40%, 125, and maybe 2 and 2.
Yeah, but my point is,
right,
more so getting back to what we were talking about when you first asked the question, that I believe Notre Dame's going to be more successful running the ball than Ohio State. That if you told me Notre Dame is going to outrush Ohio State by a small margin, I would still be inclined to think Ohio State can win that game. If you tell me that Ohio State's going to outrush Notre Dame, I'm going to be pretty confident that Ohio State should win the game. I know there's a lot of other factors. McCord could throw 3 picks. But if Notre Dame rushes for 180 and Ohio State rushes for 70, then, I don't think that's going too well for the Buckeyes.
Yeah. So in your guys' eyes, if Notre Dame does pull this off, and to your point, Mark, I realistically think if Notre Dame does win, it'll be more like 21-17. It'll be close in that sense.
You just predicted 41-17.
I know.
We fucked you out of that, huh?
To a degree.
Okay.
So if Notre Dame does win this game, taking it from the standpoint of a win is a win, what do you think this does for the program this season? Does this lead them towards the path of, we beat Ohio State, we can beat USC, we can beat everybody on the schedule and make a run to the playoff, or does it have a 2022 effect where they actually do beat Ohio State and turn around and lose the next week?
What do you mean? They didn't beat Ohio State last year.
I know, but I'm saying
I know what he's saying. I know what he's saying. So even though we didn't win last year, are you going off of like that we kept it close in Columbus?
So my point is, even though you lost last year, you still turned around and lost the following week to an inferior opponent. Do you think that with a win, it would have the same kind of outcome, or do you think that it rides the season to the playoffs?
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Well, here's the thing. In the past, Notre Dame has had tendencies to play down to opponents, whether it's been before or after playing a big time opponent. So I want to see that change, of course. But what I take into consideration too is this Notre Dame team a hell of a lot better than last year's team, miles ahead of it, because the main thing is we actually have a quarterback at the elite level. Now, granted, it's not one that we actually recruited and built and so on, but that's irrelevant at this point. But I think if we win this game, it's going to give us that confident boost. Because, in my opinion, I can't speak for all Notre Dame fans out there, but to me, things seem different this year, and in a good way. Because last year when we lost to Ohio State, okay, nobody cared because nobody was. I'm not going to be shocked that we lost to an Ohio State. They're a real good team, of course. But once the Marshall game came in and we lost to them, the negativity really started to pour. Yes, Stephen, I do think he is elite. But now that we're actually doing what we're supposed to against teams, like putting away the lesser opponents, there's this vibe of good. So I'm getting that feeling with this year's team. So I think if we do beat Ohio State on Saturday night, that's really going to give us a boost in our confidence, in our ability, and it's going to carry forward. It's going to be a what's the word I'm thinking of? It's going to carry over.
Momentum, breakthrough.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. But yeah, we're going to keep going. Ride the wave.
All right, Buckeye Mike, we appreciate you being here.
Appreciate it, Mark.
We got you down for 41-17.
Yep.
Can you float me 23 points? I'll take it. Have a good night.
Yep. You too.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. Last caller of the night. We got Jeffrey on the line. I've been sitting here basically since like 11 o'clock this morning. So I'm wearing down here. Jeffrey, what's going on?
How you doing, Mark? Yeah, that conversation with Mike talking about Ohio State, that's classic stuff. 41-17. Like I don't even think that I could pick Ohio State to win by that much. I can't pick either team to win by nowhere near that much. Even if it happened, like you said, because you mentioned how blowouts do happen, even when you're not expecting them to. But there's just no way you can predict that. But your previous caller before that, everything he was saying, it was up my wheelhouse about the cupcake games and how I like basketball, where you get rewarded for playing tough games and all that. Everything he was saying is something I was like, man, it's like exactly what I would say on here. So I just thought that was a pretty cool thing as well. But yeah, what I wanted to come on here and talk about, I didn't even know you were going live right now, to be honest, because it wasn't on your community tab. But since I saw it, I was like, let's talk some of these games real quick. I'm probably maybe
it's there.
It was there. I didn't see it.
It's on the schedule.
All right, I didn't see it, but must have missed it. But on Friday night, you've got Wisconsin and Purdue, and that's a game that I am very conflicted on because I've picked Purdue to win 2 games this year that they didn't win. I picked them to beat Syracuse, and I picked them to beat Fresno State. They didn't win against either of those opponents, so I'm going Wisconsin this time. And I have a feeling since I picked Wisconsin that Purdue is going to end up getting the job done. I don't know. I don't know if you're doing that with your Patreon with Wisconsin Purdue, but what are your thoughts on that game?
Where's the game? Wisconsin, correct?
Wisconsin Purdue. It's at Purdue.
I think that Wisconsin has just not played well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Wisconsin is decidedly a better team than Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're a stronger team at the point of attack. Purdue's not a good team along the defensive front, the offensive line. Hudson Card, I think, is a good player. He's not a great quarterback by any stretch, but he's a good player. He's a good runner. He's a good thrower of the football. I think they've got skill position players that are good. I think Maccabee's a good back, but Wisconsin's decidedly better on both lines of scrimmage and in the front seven on defense. I expect Wisconsin's it's gonna be an entertaining game, a decent game. I'm gonna enjoy watching it. I'll throw out Wisconsin wins this game 27-17.
I think I have like 27-21 or 28-24, something like that. I can't exactly remember for Wisconsin. But, I mean, like I said, I'm worried, though, because Purdue does this to me. Every time I pick against them, they win. And every time that I pick them, they lose. I know that's insane. Obviously, what I pick has no indication on the result. But it's just something I've found kind of funny lately. Even last year, I picked Purdue a lot, and they would lose. And it would blow my mind. But that is a game I'm looking forward to, even if it's just for that reason alone. NC State, Virginia. I know Virginia's 0-3, but they're not awful sometimes. They're not good either. There it is. We'll see Ohio State, Notre Dame live preview. It didn't say the mega matchups. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I didn't know, because I wasn't going to come on for an Ohio State, Notre Dame. I like these mega matchups, week 4 previews kind of live streams.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about.
All right. That's our big schedule for today. All right. Keep going, Jeffrey.
Oh, you're good. So definitely we were both right to an extent. But yeah, the Virginia-NC State game, I mean, I think Virginia can keep it close a little bit because it's at home, and NC State's been kind of interesting. And it depends on if Virginia plays hard against Armstrong, because obviously him leaving, it could go the other way where Armstrong just balls out against his former team. I don't really know. I think I said NC State by like 10. I don't know though. That's
where's the game?
Virginia.
Yeah, NC State. Again, it's almost a carbon copy in some ways, not completely, to the Wisconsin-Purdue matchup. NC State's got, despite what Sean and his team did, they've got a good defense. Like, they're a lot better team than Virginia.
Oh, I certainly never said they didn't have a good defense. Of course they do.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, despite what your team did to them eventually, North Carolina State, they only gave up 19 points per game last year. They went forever. You may have come across this stat. They hadn't given up 30 points in like a couple years before the Notre Dame game, and they brought back a good semblance of that. Although Brendan Armstrong, like, we still have to figure out, is he going to be the guy that he was in 2021 or the guy last year? Like, I would challenge the chat to bring forth a quarterback who had a bigger drop in performance from one year to the next. He went from leading the nation in passing, threw for 450 yards per game, 31 touchdowns, 10 picks, to 7 TDs, 12 picks, and all his numbers, just his yards per completion, just plummeted, like one of the best in the nation to one of the worst in the nation. His completion percentage went down like 12 points.
It was a new coach, to be fair. I mean, that's what changed everything, though. I mean, if Mendenhall was still there, he wouldn't have dropped off like that. Now, would he have had as good of a season? I don't know, because he's not doing as well at NC State, but we don't know the circumstances either. That year when he was at Virginia, I watched almost every one of their games because he was insane. Like, he was just slinging it down the field, confident, and then Tony Elliott takes over, and it's not even close to the same thing. Like you said, one of the biggest drop-offs. He's like the new Tanner Morgan in a way. You're waiting to see if he's going to get back to that season. Obviously, Tanner Morgan's 2019 season was not as good as Brennan Armstrong's season statistically, but both those quarterbacks, close, very close. But
actually, Tanner Morgan that year there were only 2 quarterbacks in the country who had a better TD to pick ratio, and that was Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa.
That's crazy. So, I mean, Morgan was great too, but he dropped off after that. Never had the same season, and now it's with Armstrong. Can he get back there? I have no idea. And then the other 2 Friday night games I'm interested in as well. Boise State, San Diego State. It's a decent game. Both teams are nowhere near as good as they used to be years ago. I feel like Boise's still better than San Diego State right now, but it's on the road, and the Broncos just do not look as good. But I'll probably go Boise there by 3-7, something like that. I don't know, though. I don't know what you think about that one.
Boise and who?
San Diego State. It's at San Diego State.
Yeah, I got nothing on that game.
The only reason why I'm asking, because I'm going to probably be back, tomorrow or Friday and talk about the big game. I'm just trying to get these midweek games.
I would go with Boise just because of their history. You know,
Yeah,
I
this is
have
what we
no
get to
insight on
go
it.
on this year is basically Boise. They actually, for as bad as the final score looked against Washington, they hung in there. It was like a 1-score game close to halftime, and they actually played them well for a half. And then they probably should have beaten UCF. The UCF
That
kicker
game.
kicked some insane field goals in that game from 50, 55 yards. They lost 18-16 with a backup quarterback. Well, I think they both had backup quarterbacks at that point. I think John Rice Plumlee got hurt as well. Whereas San Diego State, I didn't see the games. Well, I saw them play Ohio, which, I throw up my hands at first to say who's Ohio, but they beat Iowa State last week.
Yes.
They're a pretty good group of 5 MAC team. But San Diego State, I didn't see the UCLA game. They lost by 25. Did not see them play. Looked like they played Oregon State rather well last week. Kept it close. Take the home team.
Yeah, I'll go with Boise out because of the history as well. I just feel like they're a bit better. I went by like 3-7. Like I said, I can't remember because I did it with Will a couple days ago. But yeah, it's interesting. That Boise State UCF game was something else. A lot of mistakes and turnovers and injuries. It was unbelievable. But yeah, you mentioned Ohio, Iowa State, and I was like, wow, biggest win of the day, from like a small school like that. And then I saw South Alabama. Kane Womack, former Indiana defensive coordinator, missed him just as much as Kalen DeBoer at OC, destroys Mike Gundy and the Pokes, man. 33-7. I don't know. And it's like Arizona State, because I'm seeing upset alert. Some people saying USC going to struggle with Arizona State. And I'm like, wait a minute. Oklahoma State beat Arizona State, but then Oklahoma State loses 33-7 to South Alabama. I'm not one of those guys that likes to do that because a result and a result and a result shouldn't be compared to each other. But yeah, Oklahoma State's bad. So if Arizona State loses to them, they're not beating USC. There's no shot at all. No shot. This isn't Arizona State with Herm Edwards and Jane Daniels 2019.
So not only is Arizona State awful when they're fully healthy, they beat Southern Utah by a field goal. 24-21, the first game of the season. So
Win's a win, I guess.
Beat an FCS team by a field goal. In addition to that, they're playing with their 4-string quarterback in this game. Did you realize that? Jane Rashada got hurt. Trent Bourget got hurt. Drew Pine got hurt.
I was going to ask about Pine.
I know Drew Pine. He was at Notre Dame.
This is at least according to my USC guys that I lean on. Is that they all 3 got hurt, and they're starting a quarterback who threw 16 passes last week, and 2 of them were picks. And Jacob Conover, they're a mess. Arizona State, they're a 34-point underdog. They're going to get just skull dragged.
In 2019, when they had Jane Daniels, Eno Benjamin, Brandon Ayuk, they were good. They were a good team.
Yeah.
They beat Oregon, spoiled their playoff chances, and but ever since then, and Herm Edwards got in trouble, it's been bad news. They're horrible. I know I saw in chat for the last 20 minutes about Indiana being the worst, Big Ten East team, one of the worst. Wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Indiana might not be the worst Big Ten East team, but they're definitely nowhere near the worst Power 5 team. Indiana's pretty good. They're not bad. They're pretty good for Indiana standard. I'll rephrase it. They're not pretty good.
Yeah, they had the ball on the goal line down 7 at the end of the game against Louisville.
Should have won if they sneak the ball like any coach should do when you're at the half-yard line and 4th and goal. But it is what it is. But yeah, Indiana is way better than Arizona State. They're better than, in my mind, at least 10 Power 5 teams. At least 10, from what I can tell. Arizona State is bad. You've got maybe Oklahoma State's really bad. I don't know. Iowa State. I still think they're better than Rutgers and Michigan State. Stanford.
Virginia.
Could be better than Arizona. Tech. Virginia Tech. That's already
Vanderbilt.
8. Better than Boston College.
Yes.
So, that's 10. They're better than 10. But we'll see on Rutgers, Michigan State they play. But the last game, because I'm sure the Pac-12 show, I don't even know if it's on yet or not. But Air Force San Jose State. Air Force San Jose State. That is an interesting game, too, because of the fact it's almost more high-profile game. Even though Boise, San Diego State will get more attention because they're bigger brands, per se, but Air Force is actually decent. And San Jose State, I don't know how good they actually are. They were good a couple years ago, and they've played a couple Power 5 teams, and Oregon State, USC got beat fairly badly, but that could be a good game. It's on the road at San Jose State. I'm going Air Force though, but that should be a decent game too.
I would go Air Force.
Well, I'd same here, but the thing is, those service academies, yeah, they get blown out a lot, but they're also tricky opponents too.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And there's also a Thursday night game too tomorrow, Coastal Carolina, Georgia State. That's decent as well. I like all these games. Georgia State's 3-0, Coastal's 2-1, lost to UCLA, but still Grayson McCall there. I think Coastal will win by 7. But yeah, I like the Thursday, Friday, games, and I can't wait to talk about the big games in a day or two. I mean, obviously you guys are looking forward to Notre Dame, Ohio State, I know. And I think it's going to be a great game. I don't know if it's going to be the best game. It could be, but there's so many great matchups. I mean, the stream saying mega matchups is completely accurate. I mean, my mind, the more I look at the schedule, I'm like, the underrated games are good. Like, you've got underrated games, and then you've got the big games. My TV's going to blow up. I'm going to be flipping the channels so much. I mean, trying to catch everything. It's insane. I mean, the 3:30 window is not even fair. You've got Colorado, Oregon, UCLA, Utah, Ole Miss, Alabama. That is just insane right there. And I'm going to be watching all of them, especially if they're close. So it's going to be good. A lot of great
games. And I will have to figure out how to title tomorrow night's live stream because mega matchups is taken. So I'm going to have to figure out a different title. We'll come up with a different one.
College football insane asylum.
Yes. Insane weekend or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could just go like a SpongeBob route instead of Weenie Hut Jr., Super Weenie Hut Jr. Just put super mega matchups. Just add adjective to it. It's super or it's, whatever.
It'll be super duper on Friday.
Super duper mega matchups. Should have started this on Monday so we could have 5 adjectives.
Yes.
I know Jeffrey, you got to go, but the one last thing I will say is I'm glad Nick Saban picked Milroe. I'm very glad he did. I think that gives them a chance, and I can't wait to talk about that game more in a couple of days. But thanks for having me on, and I'm looking forward to the games, and it's going to be great.
All right, Jeffrey. Appreciate you being here.
And like and subscribe to Mark. He deserves it from working all day.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Have a good one. All right, Sean. You get a little taste of what we do here.
Yeah.
Talk to these fine folks for a couple hours.
Oh, yeah.
Times a week.
And see the unoriginal Notre Dame insults, and I'm like, can you guys come up with anything better, please, in the comment section than Notre Dame or Rudy was offsides? Come up with something new. Be progressive, people. No, it's a lot of fun no matter what. So interact with meet different people, interact with them. It's makes for a good time.
I posted the other day on Twitter. I said. It's something to the effect of it's good to be a fan, or it's okay to be a fan, just don't be a dumb fan.
Oh yeah. I would probably go worse than that, but I'm one who behaves himself. So
yeah, I try. All right, Sean. Sean, we appreciate you being here. Want to let everyone know certainly where to find your work. So steer them on over to the Two Irish Brothers.
Yeah, that's the name of the show. The Two Irish Brothers. It's the big green shamrock with the TIB in it. Ben and I just did our preview video for this week's game. I guess you could preview, prediction, whatever you want to call it. That's the one that we just uploaded recently. And then other than that, you guys can catch us Saturday night on the Voice of College Football Notre Dame channel for the live post-game show. So we hope to see you guys there. Even the ones that have unoriginal insults, you're welcome to.
Awesome. Well, John, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Oh, it was an absolute blast. Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sean.
So everybody else have a great night.
All right. Sean Moriarty, the Two Irish Brothers. And again, you can just look that up right here on YouTube. It's easy to find. Just look up the Two Irish Brothers. All right, let's see. For a Thursday, let me get my bearings. I'm looking for my proper ID. There we go. So on Thursday, we will have Steve Merrill in to talk about all the betting lines in college football week 4. I don't know if we're going to be live at any point. Yes, we will. We've got what time is that going to be? We're going to do a Colorado live show. Colorado, Oregon. So be looking out for that. We'll send the schedule out here in the next couple hours. So look out for that. Colorado, Oregon. And yeah, you know us. We're pumping out the content, previewing all the big games. We'll be here throughout the day on Thursday, Friday night after Wisconsin, Purdue. So lock it in right here at the Voice of College Football. Please consider subscribing. If you enjoy the content and what we do each and every day, please subscribe, hit the like button. Those things matter, folks. Believe me, those things matter. Hit the like button, YouTube algorithm. I don't check to see how many likes it got. It doesn't matter to me, but it does matter to me because YouTube's keeping track. And if they see there's a large percentage of likes to the video, they push it out there into traffic. So please check out the videos we've got out there. I did 2 on Colorado / Deion Sanders, did an Ole Miss Alabama preview, Oregon and Colorado, and a lot of Ohio State, Notre Dame, of course, and Clemson, Florida State. Got previews all over the place of all these big matchups right here at the Voice of College Football. We'll see you on Thursday. All right, let's try that again. We were just about to wrap it up and saw that Connor was promoting the Pack Chat Show. So absolutely, he is right. Just keep it going right here at the Voice of College Football. The Pack Chat Show is in progress. So keep it right here. Join them, and we can slide all 80 some of you on over with Tony, Tim, and the rest of the crew on the Pack Show. We'll see you on Thursday.